back from Christmas and back from a little bit of a longer break than that. This is our 13th session, and actually only our 17th day in game since we began this campaign. 17 days have passed since you joined East Academy as characters, and a ton of stuff has happened in that 17 days. But to summarize, I mean, you guys have met new friends, met other classmates, met your own classmates, made some allies out and inside of the school. And you've also made some rivals and perhaps enemies both in and outside of the school as well, dealing with criminal organizations and seeing the sort of destruction that can be caused by these glow-eyed individuals. Also dealing with sort of mind control like power that they have over a young girl of the Fjordis family that you rescued. And during all that, your education has continued towards becoming Empress Knights. At present, you guys are only a few days away from your first ever field mission, heading out with Sky, an Empress Knight who you have met a couple of times now and had a good conversation with just before we left off. But on Thursday, so it's Saturday in-game right now, you guys have the weekend and 3 more days of school before you head off on your new train that we sort of got acquainted with as well. So, with all that said, the last thing you guys sort of did was that meal. You got some more explanation about your instructor, why he's the right-hand man of the headmistress, and the events that led him into that situation. His history as a promising student, and the unfortunate fate that befell him during the Fourth House Rebellion Wars in Trismere. But for now, it's Saturday morning. You're waking up. Maybe vague memories of the meal, of enjoying your time with the two of them, still sort of lingering. The stories that were told, the conversation that was had about why you want to be an Empress Knight. And it is sort of interrupted by the distant sound of someone in the communal kitchens. Seems to be singing. There's a musical accompaniment that doesn't sound like a guitar, which is the usual instrument played in the communal area. It's more like a flute or perhaps a panpipe or something like that. Something a bit more woodwind is being played. And there's sort of laughter as well in the distance.
We've been invaded by the Fae.
We've already been invaded by the Fae for like a long time.
What do you guys want to do?
Dayfor would be semi early as usual, preparing a little bit more hastily breakfast than usual. Essentially trying to cram or free up some amount of time today. As Dayfor realized, oh, we have a very limited amount of time until the trip, and I have not yet gotten started on the kind of rune imprinting thingy that I wanted, or that Dayfor wanted for the mission that we're about to go on.
When you wake up, you head out as quickly as you can. Delphin's actually already in the kitchen, and as you walk in, he presents you with a plate of pancakes, thin fried with like sugar and lemon over the top. You can see Luis and Verity are also there, and it was Delphin's voice you could hear. He was sort of singing one of the more popular sort of pop songs at the time, and Luis was playing the flute along with it, and Verity was just sort of chatting in between that as the three of them were sat there. It seems to be just the three of them in there at the moment as you walk in, Dayfor. looks, he says, "Good morning."
Morning, you guys.
He hands you the plate full of pancakes.
Giving a quick glance over the pancakes, in terms of amount that he's making, for how many people is he cooking?
Looks like he's cooking for everyone, as far as you can tell. He's got like huge jugs of batter, one pan, but he just keeps pouring in, doing one, flipping it, just putting it over to the side. And you can see a pile of like reject pancakes as well, ones that have broken are sort of just like off to one side.
You're a lifesaver, Delphin. I'll need to be somewhat hasty. I don't have that much time. I'll be renting the cooking club kitchen as the last couple weeks as well for a couple hours in a bit, and I'll be rather quickly.
He nods and says, "Yeah, it shouldn't be too busy. Easy enough to do on short notice. Most people are cramming before the trip away." He gestures at the plate of pancakes, says, "A bit of a tradition. I always do them before away missions for everyone."
Thanks a ton. Should I be entering my name into a register of some sort, given that I plan on doing this?
He shakes his head and says, "Looks like you're busy. I'll do it for you."
Thanks.
Nods.
So I would be sitting myself down with the pancakes and downing them rather quickly.
Just rolling them and just like picking it up, eating it more like a burrito, or?
Oh, I mean, I'm not a barbarian. I first obviously put marmalade on them.
Oh, marmalade. That's not something I do myself, but yeah, I get it. I can see it working.
He's becoming British.
I wouldn't do marmalade, personally.
Them making a roll and stuffing them in, essentially.
Yeah, whoever comes out next comes out to, Dafer eating pancakes, Delphin cooking, the smell of pancakes that morning as well. Obviously, for you Americans, this is more of a crepe than a pancake, I guess. I didn't actually think about the difference between our pancake culture. But yeah, it's a lot thinner than you would be.
Disgusting.
I know. I'm sorry.
Is the singing still going?
Occasionally, yeah. Occasionally, Delphin still breaks out into song whenever he's like concentrating on flipping the pancake more than anything.
I think Adhira, still like on the floor of Verity's room, covered in like blankets, just reaches out, grabs one of the massive teddy bears, and just shoves it down on her head with like a massive dog toy squeak.
Yeah, say.
She's the last one to get up.
Okay. Anyone in particular want something to do that morning, or have something they want to add to their pancake?
Today is a Wednesday?
It is a Saturday. It is Saturday morning.
I feel like I need to get around to just like asking, hey, Doc, there's this girl named Isabel who wants to talk to you.
Mm-hmm.
Or at least be reminded, like, of it.
I think that's up to.
So I'm not sure.
Oh, sorry, Roach.
If,
We're losing. Is everyone else losing, Roach?
Yeah.
You're clipping a little bit there. Sorry, buddy.
Oh, fuck.
It seems to be better now, though. I heard that loud and clear. I don't think I've got anything on my side. Looks like looks like they've muted.
Who was in the communal room? That was Delphin, I think, and Verity, and who was that?
Luis Zalas.
Okay.
When you wake up, Uther, Luis will point towards a letter in like a little pigeonhole. Says, "Was dropped off for you this morning."
want to snap my book close and go to the letter.
Do you wake up, walk out of your dorm room in the morning with a book in hand, like open reading it?
I think Uther would have been up a little earlier, but would have been ignoring the goings on after finding out about the secret assignment.
Gotcha.
So he's been prepping for that. So yes, basically he would. And I will retreat away from the kitchen and pop that open.
Opening it
I will
up.
have pancakes, but I'm going to open the letter away.
You grab a pancake, like a plate full of pancakes, retreat with the letter into your room. Opening it up, it is your uncle's handwriting, as you would expect. This is much more of a manuscript of a letter. It's like a piece of paper folded many, many, many times and like very long, almost like scroll-like, but then forced to fit into an envelope. It's been folded up so much. And also, nestled into the folds of the paper is a necklace, a small piece of jewelry that you vaguely recognize as maybe having seen your mother have at one point, but you seem to think you've seen it a few different times. Maybe a few people wore it. It's like one of those things that you wouldn't think you'd remember, but now you're looking at it, it seems quite familiar all of a sudden, and like a lot of small hazy memories of seeing it about. It is just like a kind of like a thin crystal. It's a jet black crystal with a silver like cap that it's inserted into, and then a simple silver chain that goes up and around as well, and that's sort of nestled into the leaves of the paper.
Does it feel weird to the touch?
Picking it up, it's not weird as such, but you can feel like an odd weighting to it. It's a little lighter than you expected it to. It looks like a pretty solid piece of gemstone. Giving it like a little rattle, you can hear a liquid within, like something sloshing around inside the crystal structure.
Interesting. What is the contents of said letter?
Reading it through, this one is basically the same cipher as the letter before, a little bit different, using a few different letters, so you're able to piece it together pretty quickly. There's lots of information in here, and hidden in amongst the information is a great deal of smaller hidden messages. It notes a target who works in import-export as an admin in the I2 district by the name of Oscar Ismuth, I-S-M-U-T-H. They have been purposefully flagging items that should be sent to Dudicop as needing to go into quarantine and to be checked, and writing them up on technicalities, and either to delay shipments of goods, medicine, other bits and pieces, or to have them seized under different means. It notes the contacts that your uncle has in the city, who are quite high up, have been unable to dislodge him from his position, which makes him think this person might also have a higher up person, someone of influence and wealth, protecting them. He says he wants you to find where they live, take a look into if you can get any information about who is supporting them, and if all else fails, he has sent you a necklace containing Dragon's Bane poison. If you need to, please use it. It's up to your discretion how to handle things ultimately, and to take this job on if you want or not. But if you do handle it, he's sure that he can reward you in some sense. there anything else you'd like to read from, or try and work out from the letter? Or?
Is there any mention of a mutual contact between me and my uncle that could be used?
It doesn't. Actually, the letter goes in and says, if you're caught doing anything, please do not implicate myself. Essentially, like, giving you a sample cover story, which is a news article about the goods being sort of delayed and so on and so forth. And it says, if questioned, please say you acted on your own interest out of annoyance from the news article that you read.
Okie dokie then. I may come back to the letter another time, but I will have to find time to look into this, I think.
And give me a history check on the poison. Let's say with advantage as well.
Advantage.
17. Dragon's Bane basically is a very potent poison that causes the target to have a sort of... It looks like an allergic reaction. It closes the throat up with swelling, and it thins the blood to the point the person passes out. It's not generally nasty enough to kill someone as long as there's some sort of immediate medical intervention, any sort of assisted breathing, anything like that, and it doesn't last too long. But in really bad circumstances, the person can pass out and struggle to breathe and pass away. The intent behind the poison, you think, is to knock him out of his job's commission, but it could be used to take him out of commission full stop. But yeah, that's what the poison does.
How common is this poison? If someone was to get hit by it and then get medical attention, would that be on like the list of things they look at for, like, would that pop up on like a common screen of any kind?
So it was invented and created in Dulacop, but got proliferated quite a lot using during the Age of Grief, when people were dragon hunting and trying to kill off remnants of the Scourge left, right, and center. So it became much more proliferated, which means that it can be found in all sorts of weird locations. It's not that it's common, it's just that it got dispersed so much that it's hard to be like, oh, it belongs to this group of people now. It's just sort of part of the general culture around hunters and hunting, which a lot of people commemorate. So collectors will sometimes buy these poisons and things like that as a relic from a bygone era, which makes it much harder for law enforcement groups to sort of track it down, as it were.
Alrighty then, thank you.
Nice.
Can I hide this letter in my room some which way, shape, or form?
Yeah, easily. You can stuff it under... You could probably pry up a floorboard, hide it underneath, or whatever you wanted, really.
Maybe in something in my desk, but yeah.
Yep, okay. You managed to, like, slide it into the desk drawer in a way that it's caught more in the joinery of the desk, so it's held up against the roof. If someone put their hand in, like, pat around, they wouldn't find it. They'd have to turn their hand upside down and, like, scrape along the top of the desk drawer in order to find it.
Alrighty then.
Okay. While everyone is sort of getting up, getting ready, having breakfast, Noctis comes in the door with a rather large, fancy-looking envelope, holds it up to anyone gathered there and says, is anyone in for the theatre tonight?
the theater.
I look at him mildly bewildered. Then I realize he might not be aware that the away trips are coming up. Time-wise, that one is a rough one.
Well, I've been busy as of late, and he opens the letter up and reveals a series of tickets. It says, I help out at a local theater sometimes. They've been trying to get hold of me, and I've only just got their messages. Apparently they've got a show on this evening. I know the trips away are coming up, but if people are free, I have plenty of tickets. Of course, if you're too busy, Dave.
I don't think I apologize. I don't think I can make this one. I have this one thing that I need to have ready.
I understand you've all had less time than most to prepare.
Apologies.
None required. I'm just, I wouldn't want them to go to waste. I'll have to find someone to take it.
I'm sure Clara or... Actually, I'm very certain that Adhira would be thrilled at some tickets that she could use to get closer to her friend.
Noctis looks over at you, Adhira.
Oh, and Hira's still asleep in her room.
Oh, okay.
In Verity's room.
She's still sleeping. Verity just looks over it and nods. Well, I'll leave a ticket for her on the side. I'll leave Dafra's with
Could you make that 2?
Yes, I'll leave the ticket that was meant for you over here.
Thanks.
Puts the 2 tickets down on the side and looks around. Says, Luis and Verity both take one. Delphin looks at him, says, have to wear a shirt? Noctis nods and he says, nah. Nah, I'm alright.
Same, man. Same.
Look, man, I'm based on Sun Wukong. I can just not close the shirt and would be an affront to the world.
Yeah. But yeah, anyone who wakes up would be presented with a plate of pancakes and an offer of a ticket for the theater this evening.
What's playing?
Zephyr Rising, a reimagining of an old story about a ship lost at sea, some goddess versus Scourge Odyssey type thing. Supposed to have a little bit of everything: adventure, intrigue, romance.
That is moderately familiar based off of a situation that occurred.
Oh.
The ward of the school, I forgot her name because I have holes in it, remembered a ship that's coming to them.
Suppose it's a common theme. Shrugs.
Yeah. But maybe I'm just seeing things where there's nothing to be seen.
I'm pretty sure there was no vengeful goddess involved in her story.
Well, no, because the goddess is preoccupied.
And this is why that isn't the same story. Oh, no worries there.
I said it was a little familiar. I'll take one.
Hands you
Spare
a ticket.
an evening.
Caliban, when you wake up,
What's
there
up?
is a message for you in the pigeonhole as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yours is just a simple card, pressed with like gold leaf with very fine lettering on it.
I'll read it.
Picking up, taking a look at it, it is a simple summons. Your father has invited you to dinner this weekend.
Does he get a +1?
Just me or?
Not necessarily. It doesn't have to be just you, but it is just a come and have dinner at home this weekend, son, sort of message in a more formal capacity, shall we say?
Mm. This will not conflict with anybody else's schedules.
It could be Sunday, so it doesn't have to be during the theater day if you would like. It has to be some point this weekend, then.
Okay, Sunday sounds good.
Okay.
Just I'll pass the message along to everybody else. Anybody else wants to join?
If anyone would like to go to the Von Halig family dinner.
Given that we had our entire discussion that left very open-ended about telling your teammates information or not telling them information, I give him a somewhat frosty look and then just continue eating or finish up my pancake.
Oh no, Caliban.
I look at Dafer. I look at Dafer. Well, if I'm gonna be more open, might as well be open familial-wise.
I think like that. He would have caught Dafer pretty much at like he was wrapping up, taking up his plate, getting up, making his way to the kitchen to get this stuff. Like I think you would get him like mid path there.
Mm-hmm.
You see him stop, think that over for a second, exhale. What time is it?
Sunday.
Time?
Be about 4.
That does leave some amount of time. Alright. I'll take this as your attempt at an apology. I can work with that. Be there.
Anybody else accept or decline?
I think only Uther is up because Clara and Adira are still sleeping as far as I'm aware.
I guess Caliban would wait for them to wake to offer, but...
Mm-hmm.
I think Adhira will eventually allow herself be roused and stumble out of Verity's room. Big yawn in the stretch.
Wait, was it Adhira's house? Room who was destroyed?
Yes. Is that you laughing or is that Caliban laughing?
Yes.
Everyone point and laugh at the poor.
Oh no. Verity
Wait,
Verity will pick one of the ribbons out of your hair from like one of the toys that's sort of fallen off, just very quietly, just pull it from the like messy morning bedroom hair.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Yeah, I'll extend the invitation to Adhira and Clara as well. Uther, what's your take?
If he wants to come along, why not?
Yeah, okay. Bet.
I could go.
I think I'll pass.
Very well.
On that note, as I just finish putting down my plate, I'll be in the cooking club kitchen for an hour or so, and then bringing stuff back to the matron. If any of you want to help me, either cook or carry this stuff, feel free. Help would be appreciated.
Noctis will offer the theater tickets to the people that have woken up and look at you, Adafer, and say, I'll come with you. I could do with a distraction.
Nice.
I'll come as well. There might be something I can pick up. I'm trying to train the slimes.
Oh god.
He holds out a ticket to Clara. Theater ticket, show tonight. Short notice, I know.
Theatre? I wouldn't miss it for the world.
Very good. Here and I too will gather together this evening, sometime about 6, shall we say?
Can I possibly pick up another ticket?
Funnily enough, Dafer mentioned you might want 2 tickets, so he holds them out to you.
Did he now?
She's gonna bring her boyfriend.
I hit Clara in the ribs like elbow.
Okay, that felt unnecessary.
Hey, is your childhood friend still in town?
Yes, he goes to Immortus.
I think Clara shall also have another ticket.
Well, Delphin did pass. We do have another free one.
I mean, sure, I don't mind.
There you go.
I don't know if Connor's really that much into the theatre, but I mean, I'm sure he'd go on a friend's trip.
Yeah.
Please,
Friends
please
trip.
do take him and find some way of recording his image when he gets into the theater and no clue what to do.
But yeah.
We did have theatres back home. Not savages.
We didn't.
No, I'm pretty sure you.
I mean,
Clara, you underestimate me. I understand Connor pretty well. So I think I'm pretty sure you have theaters back home. But I'm also pretty sure that Connor would be like, I can't train here. I can't do anything. Why am I here?
Well, I'm just glad it's not me that committed the microaggression.
I think that might have been a macroaggression.
It would have been if it was Caliban.
God dang.
Okay, so Dafer's heading to the kitchen. Clara's heading with, so is Noctis. Anyone for anything else that evening? I guess you're hunting down Andrus, Adira?
Yes.
Heading out into the academy grounds, most of you sort of heading towards the kitchen area. Adhira, as you're walking towards the Year 1 dormitories, Andrus is walking towards your dormitories, and you sort of meet in the middle of the path, both of you about to say something to each other at once.
Andres, fancy meeting you here?
I was just coming to see you. Everything okay?
Yes. I was coming to find you.
He freezes for a second as you see he's excited to tell you something, but he's also excited to hear what you have to say to him. So he's like, which of these things do I do? As it runs through his brain like a little pachinko machine, which way will it, the final ball roll?
Today's a class day, yeah? Or is it a free day?
No, it's a Saturday, it's a free day. Yeah, free day.
Okay. I was thinking we meet up today, and I believe there was an offer on helping fix my room, and afterwards, as a treat to ourselves, we go to the theater tonight. I just so happened to pick up 2 extra tickets from a year 2. She holds them both up with her fingers.
I've never really been to see, is it a play?
I believe so. I've also never had the pleasure of watching one before. We didn't have them where I'm from.
And actually, I was here to talk to you about your room. I've been trying to organize something. I was hoping to maybe fix your room in secret to surprise you, but when I talked to the staff, I was told that there were workers coming in to work on your dorms while we were away on our away missions. It seems the school has everything in hand already. Makes sense, I suppose, but yeah.
Makes sense, I believe, but I do appreciate the effort for trying for a surprise gift. It's cute.
Thank you. I'm glad that we're going to do something again in the city. I know we're going to be on away mission soon, and well, when I heard about your room, I was worried, and now I'm thinking about the away mission, and I'm worried again. It would be nice to spend some time together before we go away.
Yes. Why are you worried about the away mission? I don't quite follow.
Well, I guess there's no reason to worry. You and your class have already proven yourselves to be more than capable. It's just that they say that, you know, statistically, if it's going to happen, it's usually the first mission. It's usually early.
Ah, I see. You're right. We have each other's backs. I can count on, well, most of my team to watch after me.
What do you mean? Why did you say most?
We have a boy on our team, Caliban. Perhaps you've heard of him.
The noble. Yeah, I've seen him around.
He's not. She stops and very definitely trying to choose her words carefully. I don't think he's a really bad guy or anything, but he definitely plays by his own rules. He watches out for himself before others.
Well, I struggle to understand that from the point of view of someone who thinks and feels that way. I don't know much about him, what made him, as it were. But I'm sure with time, your group will, I don't know, find something to all bind you together.
I hope so too.
Do you want to take a walk for a bit?
I'd love to. Just woke up. I could go for some air.
As he turns and walks with you, he steps a little closer so that his hand bumps into yours as you're walking and grabs hold of your hand.
Oh, sly dog. She doesn't flinch or react. She just takes it in stride and grips his hand back as well.
Okay. The two of you take a walk. While you're holding his hand, you feel like a strange imprint from one another, and almost like an exchanging of information that you know is taking place, even as you're like, but it's more like a subconscious thing. Like as you're walking and talking and just going about having a normal time, from your mind, from the descriptions and all the things you've said and all the things you've done, he seems to come to understand the night sky from your home, this impression of what the stars in the sky look like at night. And more than that, with that knowledge comes the feeling of what you feel for your home. This understanding of why you're in EK and what you're fighting for, those nights looking up. In exchange, you get some sense of what it is he was told would happen when he was a very young child. Some aspect of a prophecy that revolves around him. That one day, the light of the stars that comes from him as a child will shine upon the path that leads to the goddess's return. And in that moment of exchanging these guiding ideas and lights within each other, and the exchange of what it means to one another, you feel an aspect of fear from him, from the way he holds your hand a little tighter as you talk. He's not excited or hopeful. He's afraid of what someone might do with a path like that. But you walk pleasantly with this information more stored within you than like consciously known. It's just somewhere inside yourself, almost as if like you've shared this with one another and it's just been buried sort of deep within yourselves and hidden away.
Oof. Can't just drop stuff like this on me.
Uther, you have this letter. Most people have gone off either to, to cook or Caliban's with you right now, and the rest of the group are. What are you doing? Are you heading straight out to do stuff with your letter, or are you more concerned with the trip that happens soon?
One second. Where roughly is where all the logisticals happening?
Where would this guy be that you've been told to look into? Import-export towards Dudicop would be in I2. In fact, the embassies and all that, it's around the corner from your academy.
Okay.
I mean, you're in the square, basically.
Close.
Yeah, close.
Alright, that's what I was trying to figure out, is just like, where, what?
Where the guy lives is a different question. He could live somewhere else
Yeah.
in the city and commute, but he definitely works here in I2.
What would security be like at the station?
At the, train station or the embassy itself? Sorry, which of the... Because they're sort of two separate entities.
Oh, okay. Well, I was more... whatever the logistical side, like, where all this stuff is getting moved around.
Oh, okay. In which case, for the actual, warehouses and things like that, yeah, that's more, stack side of I2. A little bit more to the east than that, so a little bit further away from everything.
Gotcha. Okay. I'm just trying to figure out where things are in relation to one another.
Yeah, of course, makes sense to me. I mean, that is the locations. It would be either the embassies, which are very close to you, or the warehouses and the underground areas where cargo's loaded onto trains before they go to the main depot to head out. The security at both would be pretty tight. What I would say is it would be a little bit lighter at the warehouses themselves, where these goods are being quarantined and things like that.
Gotcha. said the warehouses are stack side, yeah?
Yeah, they're as south as the stacks, but they're a bit more east of where the stacks would be. So technically they're a little bit closer because heading to the stacks from East Academy is like all the way across the district, whereas this is just down.
If I was to want to go and scout out the embassy a pinch, would I have time to get back in time for Dafer to go towards Stackside?
Yeah, absolutely. If you wanted to just do a walk around the embassy structure or find a place to like keep an eye on it from, you certainly could. The conservatory tea house, which is sort of across the square, has a view of East Academy, the train station, and in fact the embassy front at the same time. If you wanted like one spot where you can see it all and just sit and have a coffee, you could do it from there and no one would really suspect anything.
I think what I would try to do is like act like I'm just like taking a walk around and then go for the coffee and do like that. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Like you're going for like an early morning
just
walk and then
stroll.
stop at the conservatory tea house for a coffee.
Yeah.
I think it's either investigation or perception. I'll let you choose which. And you've got some time, so you can give it to me with advantage as well, since you've got the cover and all that. Very nice, Uther. It's a walled structure, but the wall is more like anti-opportunist than anything. It's a little smaller than East Academy's walls, and you can vault those with ease, Uther. It's a 5-story building that is sort of a horseshoe shape. Ooh, that was hard to say. It's more square than that, though. It's got that C shape, maybe is probably a better way of describing it. But it's a bit more elongated on the top and the bottom part of the C. It's one building from multiple embassies, and it's divided up. This guy would probably be part of the embassy, like the central embassy staff that all the other like areas come and talk to. He wouldn't be Dulukop embassy. He would be like the administrator for the city more than anything. Yeah, which is in the little nooked area. So you've got the long arms, which are for all the different cities and states that Empress City interacts with, and then there's the squat end part, which is kind of close to the wall when you get to like the back end. So you can get to there pretty quickly over the wall. It is patrolled by guards. They patrol in pairs. It's a pretty tight patrol pattern as well. You can't see an obvious, like, oh, they don't cover this wing of the building at a certain time during the 20-minute rotation or whatever. It's all pretty well covered. You can see through the windows well enough, and there's quite a few people working in there. Lots of paperwork, lots of activity. It's as busy as you would expect it to be, Uther. And in that sense, easy enough for someone to maybe blend in if they were to look like they belong there, Uther. If you had the right clothing or you know, an object to carry that made it look like you were busy, people might not ask too many questions. There are couriers coming and going, for example, from the structure constantly, a wave of them after wave of them. And you do recognize some same uniform outfits that seem to be quite common into the building as well. Sitting in the tea house, like coffee, drinking a coffee for a bit, you would notice the workers seem to have already arrived at this point. But there is like occasionally a mass of people that will come from the subway station that arrived in I2 and then walk their way across the square into the I2 embassies. So there are waves of busyness that seem to happen, and it seems to coincide with the train that would arrive from the very central district. So people coming from A1, A2 would come to this district and like swarm the embassy, probably from like larger administrative centers within the very core of the city itself. So that could be a good time as well, with one of these waves to try and just walk in. Yeah, exactly. That's the obvious things that I describe to you that I can think of. But if there's like another question, like something like if like rune markings or anything like that, you'd be looking for Uther. Let me know. Other
that
questions.
would be one of my things. Like, I'll basically alarms. I'm sure there are. But I'm sure like the wall itself isn't marked for alarm.
The outside section of the wall, you don't see any distinct markings. Like I said, you see the wall as more of this, like, if someone's, like, peeved at them, or maybe someone might, like, try and run up and, like, put their arm through a window to take something, the wall's more like an opportunist blocker. Once you're past the wall, that's where you think things will get messy, but unfortunately it also blocks your view of, like, the grounds. Without getting closer and inside, you can't see if there's any markings on the floor or anything like that. You do see that there are ID card readers set up, and it looks like people are scanning their like ID cards on these little crystal panels, like you did when you got your poison from the depository, or whatever it would be called, a repository. But yeah, so those are obvious, like, one bits and pieces you can see. They've got the ID card scanner, and there's probably some sort of alarm system within, like, between the building and the wall on the grounds.
Alright.
Happy with that?
If I think of something, I will attack you with it later.
Cool. Caliban, you have mostly yeses, one no for your family dinner. Is there anything you want to do while they're at the kitchens, on walks, or otherwise scoping out the embassy to steal information from it?
Nothing that comes to mind.
No, you're more just chilling this Saturday morning before the theater, yeah?
Mostly, yes.
Okay. We exchanged some messages in private about you organizing some stuff. Do you want to send a letter to your major domo, or would you rather discuss this in private with your father this weekend? Like, how do you want to go about it?
Between the two, who would I know would have the most influence into
Definitely
that
your
particular
father.
thing?
Yeah, your dad.
All right, yeah. I'll probably send a letter to him explaining some stuff.
Okay.
And as to the... Yeah.
Yeah, I understand what you mean. Okay, so you want to send a letter ahead of the meeting tomorrow, basically. So that's probably what you'll do with your time today, is sit down and write out a letter. Okay.
Yes.
Meanwhile, in the kitchen area, I think it's Clara, Dafer, and Noctis. Stepping inside, you got the key from Delphin, so you're the one to unlock it. It's freshly clean. You're the only 3 people in there. Multiple stoves and sets of kitchen equipment are available to you. Noctis looks at you, Dafer, and says, "All right, chef, what are we up to?"
Right. Making something rather rustical and simple. We'll be making some gravy, some sauerkraut potato mash, and some sausages. And these should all be capable of being like individually packaged, etc.
Okay.
I think I'll put myself on the mash, and you want to do the sausages and the gravy?
Yeah, sure. That saves me
Have a recipe.
grating cabbage. As he looks at you, Clara.
Oh, thanks.
Welcome.
For the sausages, it's mostly just putting them in boiling water and to cook them through that. Should be a specific kind of sausage as well. I'm sure I'll find some.
I'll check the cold room. You get the cookers on.
Yeah. You wanted some leftovers, Clara, right?
Well, it doesn't have to be leftovers, but my problem has been, well, I wanted the slimes to learn that they don't just eat everything that's part of the problem. That's why they're considered a pest. If they could just selectively choose, like if they were fed, leftovers and things that people don't want, they might actually be considered helpful rather than a nuisance. So it doesn't really matter what we're left over with. It just means that I don't have to steal food from the kitchen to train them with.
I'm pretty sure that Sam, I'm pretty sure Delphin talked to me about potentially organizing leftovers for the kids. I wouldn't be using them this week unless like leftovers include potato mash.
So aside from leftovers, you're peeling potatoes, you've got to take away the outside layer of the cabbage and stuff like that. All that stuff could be fed to the slimes instead.
That's really all. I don't want like actual food. I just kind of want like
scraps.
The peelings, the stuff we wouldn't use is basically what I'm trying to collect.
Perfect. That means I don't need to take out the biotrash. Wonderful.
Not at all.
In which case, the cooking occurs. All the ingredients are gathered and put together, and by the end of it, I guess Clara has a nice box of like the casings of the cabbage, the peelings of the potato, anything that went awry or anything like that, all in. I don't want to call it a Tupperware box, but like a small box type thing.
Yeah.
And then
it should be perfect.
Noctis says, and we're taking this, down, Stackways,
Yeah, Stackside. I'm not sure if, maybe you've been there before, the church building down there.
He shakes his head and says, I've not had much reason to be Stackways, but apart from a couple of inner I2 missions that popped up.
The people there are lovely. I hope you like it.
He nods.
If you want to come with, of course.
The theatre tonight isn't too far from there. It's not like I've never been that way, just never quite that far south.
The kids there are very, very curious. Very hungry too.
So it would seem. As he like holds up a stack of boxes. He looks at Clara and says, are you off to feed the slimes, or?
I can do that later. I might as well help you take things over. It's not like I don't know where we're going.
So yeah, he loads them up into bags, and as you're heading out, I guess you bump into Uther, who's also gonna head that way as well. You did mention, can I get back before Dafer was...
Oh, yeah, I wanted to help him carry stuff.
Okay, yeah.
To give me an excuse to be in the stacks.
Okay. You share the bags between yourselves and start walking through the city. On your way, Noctis will point out the building you're going to. It's like a 2-story building. It's quite sizable, but still small for a theater. Probably like 100 to 120 people in there, something like that. Says, started off as a bar, but they had the space in the back, and the owner turned it into a stage. It's been doing quite well. It's only been open a few months, but I've been helping out there when I could. Do a lot of set dressing mostly.
How did you find out about it?
Well, they posted flyers here. Used to be the students couldn't go in there because of it being a bar, but when they started on putting on local shows, they started advertising more in our area as well. It caught my eye. There's not much like it here in I2. You have to go into the central districts for more.
So, one second. So, a bar turned theater?
Yeah, that's correct. Or the back used to be filled with like I think it used to be a antique store before they bought it. The owner wanted to run a bar, but when they were going through the stuff in the back, they found a bunch of old costumes and other things, and they always thought that I2 could use a theater, so they put some money in it, and it's turned out quite nicely.
And who are the kinds of people that typically do perform the plays there? Do you have just wandering groups of actors that occasionally play, or?
Well, the two leads are from out of district, but everyone else is actors and actresses that have sort of volunteered basically in the local area. So. They've been reaching out to me for. Go on.
What's the type of play you typically go for? Is it just or not just? Is it varied in a sense? Is there like an emphasis on something specific?
For me, I've always found it interesting, but I don't much like to. I don't know. I didn't like the idea of being stood on stage, but helping make the stage interesting, well, that I took to quite well. So I'm not too worried about what it is. Just I like a good theme.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, go on.
I have to admit, we didn't have too much of that in Dulukop. I won't be cramming, but there's always a second time.
Small village, right? I'm sure you had your share of communal story time, though, be it part of your education or around a campfire at night or whatever it is you did. Sorry, I don't know too much.
Something like that. You typically have a bunch of bored kids at the night. Like, you can only keep them entertained with activities for so long. So sometimes you just have one of the older folk during communal dinner go off to the side and just tell one of their more or less embellished stories.
He shrugs.
It's kind of like that.
It's just a sense of community at the end of the days, and I like that about this district. Sometimes it gets together and gets to do things like this. Heading into the church, you guys drop off the food. An excited throng of children, the staff in charge of making sure that they are distributed evenly. It's a pretty typical weekend for you at this point. Day for a usual routine. Talk to the people that you talk to in there about, how things are going, and spend a little time in there.
On that note, how is it going? Are things looking up? Are there new recent worries cropping up? Have the Gloam-eyed leaving them alone or starting?
So the Gloam-eyed left, but they took a lot of young people with them. There's a lot of, it's not disappearances, but no one really knows where they've gone. It was mentioned in one of Rudolph's reports that they weren't sure how they were moving them, whether it was fake IDs or not. But you're seeing the other side of that. So in one side of things, it's much more peaceful now. There aren't people in the streets that are causing trouble or unease. But there's also like a weird absence. Everyone knows someone who's gone missing in some sense, which is a different kind of unease that's sort of settled in the district. But still, you think this is somehow almost preferred in a sense. There's no ongoing risk of things getting worse. The bad thing has happened and now they've just got to deal with it. That's sort of like the feeling you're getting, Dayfra. But that's pretty much it.
And out of curiosity, just looking more deeply into it, what do the kids here essentially have for material to keep them entertained, to not just keep them entertained, but also get them to not just waste time in quotation marks, but also just do something?
Yeah, they have volunteer teachers. There are people that bring toys and things like that here as well. It's sort of a mix. Some of the kids stay here all the time, so it's like a mixture between an orphanage and a community center. A lot of this place is giving kids something to do in this area of the city. There are lots of like bars around the stacks and places that aren't really meant for entertaining kids, but more made for entertaining adults that have had like a hard day at work, in a sense. And the church basically focuses on like there are like pool tables in like the upper wings, and there are places for people to sit and read books, little like areas that are tucked away where they can have a hobby away from the rougher life in this area of the district.
So this is very much, pretty much, like a very much a well stacked in quotation marks, a third place for people to go to.
Obviously, they're always in. Sorry, what was that, Uther?
Keep the kids out of gangs.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the aspects of what the church is trying to achieve. And the other thing is, I mean, they always need more stuff. Because it's always like the toys are, maybe it's an important lesson, but the toys are always shared between kids, but it would be nice, if they all had something, or something that could be given to them to be called their own and not just here. Like, there's always room for them to improve things, and they're always looking for more stuff, but that with the food coming through, they've covered, like, one of the most basic needs for the families that leave their kids here while they're working and stuff like that. Everything helps, I guess is what I would say.
Yeah. I mean, this is basically the entire school and lunch thing. But just having this gives people more of a reason to show up, to be here, as opposed to in a bar or something, etc.
Yep, you got it.
I think Dafer would look at that and start thinking a bit, not yet having an idea on what could possibly be done there, but that something could be potentially done there, and that might be something to look into or think about.
You done now, or is there anything in particular more you wanted to do?
I think that's it. Dafer would be not being as leisurely as the last couple times he was here. Essentially not take like the extra hour or something, because he wants to get back and
work on his project.
Start cramming, essentially.
Yeah. Okay. You hand things off, you have a quick conversation, get a feel for how things are, and once everything's sort of taken care of, you start heading out. Uther, did you want to peel away after this, or before this, or what was it you were?
Yeah, I think I'll peel away when everyone starts heading back. I just want to make some excuse about testing something, expanding my skill set. Nothing to worry about, and I'll just peel off in a different direction.
Noctis will give Clara and Dafer a look like, what was that?
Uther being, Uther. He's probably... Actually, I don't know what he's doing, and I think it's probably better if we don't ask.
Not sure if we need to be that secretive about this, but I have a tough time to explain this other than Uther being Uther. It's can't say I've known him much different than this.
Isn't he
essentially occasionally
I mean,
going away on his own?
I don't want to cast aspersions, but he seems like a bit of a book nerd to me.
You'd be surprised. Not to, make too fine a point of it, but I don't know many book nerds who can slip away into the darkness and wield a greatsword with that amount of precision.
You're right. Most people who study to be EKs are never simple people. With that said, Uther, are you heading towards the warehouses?
Not directly, actually. I would like to make a stop.
Oh.
Yes. Remember the building where we met our friend who
Yes.
tried to whack me with a gun?
Yeah, I do.
I want to say hi.
Okay. Heading to the building It's got the same sort of dilapidated look with the dusty outside windows, but you can tell looking at the door, it looks like it's unlocked. You could just walk right in.
I think I'm going to go in through a window and then loop around and go down.
Okay, give me a quick investigation check. You don't see any windows that are like obviously open or anything like that. You'll have to give one a little bit of a jimmy up. You do see one window that looks like it's unlocked, so you could wedge something under it. It's probably stiff. You don't think these windows are opened very often.
Yeah, I'll slip a knife out and fit under that.
Yeah, give me a sleight of hand check.
Throw a d20 into the void. Let's go.
22. You ease the window open, simple enough. Pushing it up, slipping inside. You hear a conversation coming from maybe just like one room over, you think, to your left. Two people talking. They're discussing essentially a bit of disorganization between people that's popped up, with a lot of people leaving the district, and a lot of people were preparing for the Glowmite to try and make a move. Lots of people gathered weapons and the desire to resist, only for it to go nowhere. There's a sort of, but we put all this effort in and we don't have to use it anymore. Is there another way it could be used, sort of energy that they're talking about? They're a little bit like, do we want to get involved with this? Yeah, what do we do now? And that seems to be sort of the conversation seems to be centered around, like, do we pick a side? Do we just let this all sort of wash out and see what happens? Like, what do we do? And that's kind of where they're going back and forth with each other. You don't recognize the voices, by the way. It doesn't sound like the guy that you interrogated before, but they do sound to be like local to I2 individuals.
Yeah, I'm going to leave that alone, and I'm going to head downstairs where I know the guy was hanging out the last time it was in use by him. And if not, then I'll go and make myself a nuisance.
Heading down to the basement, it looks like a lot of stuff has been cleared out of here, probably when someone realized this place was made, they sort of emptied it out a little bit. What you do notice is someone was working on opening up a few bricks in the wall at the back, and you can see there's a hollow space beyond.
Ooh, would that look like it connects anywhere on our little map of the sewers?
Getting closer, peering through. It's not quite been widened up enough for you to get through yet, but yeah, it looks like it heads into the sewers. You'd have to take a quick look around, but you think it would be in like the southeast section of the sewers.
I'm going to make a mental note of that, but I'm getting too many pans and not enough hands on this situation, if that makes sense.
Roughly.
So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to head upstairs. I'm going to knock on the inside of the door, just to announce my presence.
Sound of scraping, people standing up, probably someone grabbing a weapon. Doesn't sound like a gun or anything like that. You don't hear like the slide of anything or anything in that regard. But you do hear metal as it scrapes along wood. And then you hear a voice, come in.
Just kind of hop upstairs and just inquire about. I forgot his name. Oh no.
Do you know what? I don't remember his name off the top of my head either. Give me 1 second.
Okay, so we're. If none of us remember, then it's not my fault.
Steven?
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 No,
was it-
Daven.
Oh, Devin, perhaps?
Set until out, we leave them behind, though not before Uther intimidates the name out of
it's
the
D-
dude who
it's-
is called Daven.
D-A-V, yeah, Davin.
Daven.
Davin. Okay, there we go.
Inquiring after him,
Yeah.
they'll say, think he left the district. Why? Are you looking to collect a debt? The other one nudged him and says, it's just a kid. And the other one shakes his head and says, remember he said he got shook up by some kids.
I was hoping I could ask him about some stuff in the area, but if he's not in, well, that's just my bad.
What information are you looking for? Maybe we can help you for a small cost.
It's nothing big. I was curious about some of the about the goings on of the warehouses in the area.
Why would you want to know about that?
A couple of discrepancies in some logistical goings on. I'm just gonna smile.
The two of them smile at each other and say, yeah, makes sense. Not uncommon.
Yeah, but no, I'd hate to be a bother, so
Depends.
unless you have anything particularly useful and particularly within budget, I might have to just make an exit.
Maybe we can just share a cut of whatever it is you're interested in.
I have reason to suspect that some things that are supposed to be going to Dulacop aren't.
Yeah, we happen to know the warehouses where the Dudacup stuff is kept. That barrack stuff has been flowing back and forth, and yeah, it's been selling pretty nice.
No. I'm more interested in the comings and goings of some of the employees. Happen to know anything about that?
They shake their heads. It's like, not much money in people, more things.
Understandable. So they're selling well in the area, so they're definitely lifting off the top. I'm just gonna like pull out a little notepad and make a note.
Hey, if that was interesting to you, it means it's valuable. I think that means you owe us.
What do you think you want?
Money's always good.
I am limited on liquid capital at the moment, unfortunately for you.
He thinks for a moment, and then he says, look, we're in a bit of a quiet period at the moment. You think you got a place that needs opening up and check-in for your discrepancies? You come back here and you tell us. We'll help you get in and out, and while we're doing it, we'll make our pockets a little heavier. Seem fair?
Yes, that would probably help me quite a bit. I need to think on that. I assume you meet here fairly regularly. This seems to be a
Yeah, people
busy building.
who used to own it moved on, so finders keepers.
Alrighty then. Well, Thank you for your time. And I'm just.
And if we happen to see your old mate, Davin, do you want us to say you was looking for him?
I say hi. And then I'll leave. You've got to pick one NPC a game because it's complex too. Or it's not fun.
I am here, the child, in order to make you specifically sweat. Criminal.
I am the dude that could have very easily killed you last time you were there, who you thought you had in the corner and then just flipped the table on you on a moment's notice. He's here again.
Not even trying to. Yeah, I'm going to do a quick scout of the warehouse area and then head back.
If it's a quick scout and that large an area, give me a perception check.
Yeah. Because I would hate to miss the theater tonight.
Perception. Looking around, patrols of guards, but this time you can see patterns with holes, things that you could exploit for 20-30 minutes of alone time with one of these buildings. The buildings themselves are like in pairs, squatted up next to each other. You notice the ones more towards the center of this like packed in space seem to be more heavily protected, which leads you to think that maybe that's closer to like the underground train hub. The streets are wide enough for like transport vehicles to take cargo towards the central area. That said, there aren't too many vehicles driving about on those roads so much, which makes you think most of this is probably underground. Therefore, the warehouses probably extend some distance into the ground as well. The upper floor areas, some of them have large ceiling windows, some of them don't. It's not too standardized, Uther, so depending on which of these buildings you're interested in, it could be easier or harder to scope them out. You do notice, however, there are letter codes on the buildings that seem to relate to locations, and you think you quite easily work out which is like just the D1, D2 for Dulukop, as you see like a section that's been cordoned off that goes from the outside all the way towards the inner areas. So there's like quite a big area reserved for transport of goods between here and Dulukop, which isn't surprising to you. They've been economic partners for a bazillion years now, or not a bazillion years now, but what feels like it to you. And also the amount of goods that Dulukop does send here to Empress as part of their no taxation scheme. They send all the barrack shards and other weaponry and things like that that Dulukop manufactures all comes here into Empress City and must all flow through these warehouses at some point or another.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's strangely quiet for what you would expect in that regard, which again leads you to just think it must be, this is like the upper areas and there's something deeper down. Anything more you'd like to try and figure out, or are you heading back?
Not tonight, unfortunately.
Okay. Heading back to the academy. Everyone gathered back at the academy. You probably have at least a few hours before the theater that evening. Is there anything anyone wants to do? Obviously, I know Dayfra, you'll be working on your rune stamping project, I presume, so to the workshop.
Yeah. Yes. Off I go, cramming into the night.
Okay.
I would also like to go to the workshop.
What are you looking forward to?
I am going to look for a spell crystal for Ice Knife, and then she is going to seek out somebody who can modify it.
Yeah, what modification are you looking to do?
She wants to try and capture more of a desert wind energy into the Ice Knife,
Okay.
change it so that it is hardened air that explodes outwards.
Changing the damage type to more like thunder damage, or is it?
I think thunder probably works best. I was gonna say acid for like erosion, but thunder is more of the explosive.
Yeah, it's more like a concussive wave, like a thunder wave type thing. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, in the year one students, Isabel probably be able to help you. Izzy with the eye patch in workshops who deals with ancient runes would probably have something to help you modify the spell crystal. And yeah, would work with you on that if you wanted.
Wonderful.
Probably get that done that evening. It's not too difficult a change to just change the damage type on a lower level crystal like that.
So probably asked in character. But once you start moving up, does it just get more difficult to try and change things that are more powerful?
It's changes are always easy to make. It's getting them to manifest in the way that you want. If you mark a fireable crystal with the idea of cold, it might just neutralize the flames, or maybe it will create a fire that burns things into a frost. It's a little more, because of the scale of the effect, it's a little harder to make it work exactly as you want. You can change it easy enough, it's just making it, work the way you want.
I see.
But with these smaller effects, more localized to a single area or needing less energy, there's less different ways of things going wrong, shall we say.
I think I understand.
Or maybe it's just that I have a lot more practice on the smaller ones. It's mostly what they let us work on. The bigger ones are rarer, so it's harder to find permission to take a chisel to one.
If an EK student came and asked you to, would it make it easier to gain access to his high-level crystals?
Oh yes, much.
I think I'll keep in touch then.
She nods. Always delighted when an EK has or a prospective EK such as yourself has a interesting and difficult and challenging and resource-intensive request. It means you get the we call them the red marks. It's a stamp that goes on your request cards. The red mark is the best one.
That explains a lot. Well, I have a play to catch. Stay busy. She gives her a wink and leaves.
Oh, have fun at the play.
Alright, let me mark this down.
Probably Uther, yeah. Yeah, you could create something more like casting it through a lens than like a housing thing. I got...
Yeah,
I mean...
essentially like sticking it in a wand that does something, basically.
Yeah, what ones are a little different, but yeah, it would be like refracting it, I guess is probably the best way to describe it, yeah.
Couldn't Uther also, like, he already has these clay balls of his, right?
Mhm.
Couldn't he essentially, like, make some clay housing, put that in a burner, and then use that, like, and describe those with runes, so, like, the magic from the crystal still gets out, but it gets filtered through the clay housing.
That's a little different. It would work, but not in the same way the lens thing would.
That would be more of like almost like an incense burner kind of deal, wouldn't it be?
It would be like changing the local environment in which the spell was cast. So, like, imagine casting a fireball in the snow versus casting the fireball in a desert. It would have a slightly different effect, but more because of where you are and not what will happen. It's mostly correct, but yeah. Okay. And Dayfra, you're just like doing sketch work at the moment for what the design will look like, whether you want it to like punch out metal or what it will be, basically. Is that the case? Or?
I think. I mean, I'm trying to get as far as I can because, like, I am under time pressure. That basically I realized, fuck, exam is in 3 days, and I have only studied half of the material.
So you're more just like reading through all the possibilities at present and swallowing the information before you start making a move.
Trying to figure out the best way to do what I want. What I want is get shape onto surface. So how do I get the best surface? Weakening the material and then stamping on it, just stamping on it with brute force, what holes, how long, trying to absorb that information, and as soon as I have something that looks viable, start making a prototype.
Okay, give me an intelligence.
About half the heating, wouldn't you?
Give me an intelligence check.
I mean, I need to be able to work on various surfaces and materials. I need to like look into and take into account what I'm most likely encountering. Oh, intelligence, you say? Okay.
Yeah, please.
Okay,
13. A little bit, you're feeling the time crunch, Dafer, as you're like, oh my god, like, I'm trying to get through this huge like tome of possibilities right now. But you, by the end of the night, you will have basically swallowed the book, and it's probably something you'll need to sleep on before you put pen to paper as to what you want to do. But you do have pretty much all of Sunday apart from that that dinner, and Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday are all free study days, so you can actually do whatever you want on them. It doesn't have to be looking into the Gold Bow Caves. But yeah, so you do have a few days ahead of you. So yeah, you managed to get at least the ideas in yourself.
Like making sketches. What are the most likely surface types I'm going to encounter? What are my strategies on getting shapes onto them? And how well can I combine some of them? La, la, la.
Clara, are you feeding the slimes?
Yes, I would like to feed the slimes.
Okay. And were you keeping the terrarium in your room? I can't quite recall. Were they in the spare room?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm keeping it in my room.
Okay.
I don't want to burden anyone else with this.
Is it like on your desk, like, or have you managed to like balance it on the windowsill? Because I think it's probably slightly wider than the window would be. Or...
It's probably like on the floor or like on top of a chest of drawers or something to that nature.
Yeah, I think you could fit one on top of a chest of drawers. It'd be like a little bit of an overhang on either side, but not much.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Yeah, when you walk in, the slimes are like adhered to the glass, like just pressed up against it flat. You can see the little core floating around in there. You can see that they have seemingly taken like an interest in what looks to be like they're trying to get towards like the bed sheets and stuff. They're like glued, like trying to get towards the fabric.
No. We don't do that. We don't eat everything.
As your words hit the glass and like the vibrations go through into the slimes, they slough off a little bit and form themselves into like little puddles as they drift and respond to your words, just oscillating slightly in place, seemingly observing you.
Okay, so I'm going to put something in there, and you have to not eat it for 5 seconds. You leave it alone, and then I'll give you some real food. How does that sound?
One of the oozes forms into a tall pillar with the core kind of at the very peak of this pillar. Almost like a stack of amoebas is when they suddenly like form into one of those tall colony pillars when they're threatened. The other one flattens itself but rotates itself around to look at the one getting taller.
Huh. I'm not sure what that means. Okay. I'm gonna go grab like a pencil or something, you know, like something that's like realistically not important.
Yeah.
How would it? Like nudge the top off, slip the pencil in, and then put the top back on.
Dropping the pencil in, the one that was like twisting itself to look, suddenly proboscis is out towards the pencil, grabs hold of it, absorbs it into itself, and it like rotates around inside itself before spinning it back out, passing it to the other one, which seems to do something similar as they absorb it into themselves and then like spit it back out. And then the two of them, you watch as they like vibrate in a certain frequency towards each other. There's a noise produced, like a slight, like, not a buzzing sound, it's more consistent than that, like a tone between the two of them, before they both like form up into these tall pillars in front of you equally.
How does the pencil look? Is there anything left of it?
No, so like the outside paint flecks, like, you know, like if you imagine it's got like the red and black like color scheme around it of like a standard pencil, like some of it's been like degraded off, flakes of it taken, but it's not been completely destroyed. You can see where they've like, you know, for want of a better term, like taken micro bites out of it to test it, seemingly. Kind of like a baby exploring the world through their mouth, like just shoving everything it can and seeing.
Well, I suppose that's fair. You didn't eat it. Clara's gonna slide the lid off and like take a handful of the like vegetable peelings and other things. Now these you can eat. So, feast, I suppose.
You watch them go through a similar process. They pick up a single piece, they take it inside themselves, and they pass them to each other. Before long, you notice the one side of the tank is filled with scraps of potato peels, and the other side of the tank is filled with scraps of cabbage. And you watch them then go and eat individually only potato peels and only cabbage scraps.
I don't understand what you're doing. She's gonna look around for like something else, because they didn't eat the pencil, but they did eat those, and I can't tell if it's because they recognize them as like food or if they actually understand what I'm talking about.
Yeah. What do you want to go?
I'm gonna go get another pencil.
Yeah.
Clara bemoans her stationery collection being destroyed for science. She's gonna put the pencil in and be like, feast?
Is it an exact same duplicate pencil, or is there any differences?
No, other than the fact that they haven't chewed on it first, it's the same type of pencil.
The first one, the one that had like turned around, I can't remember what the two types of oozes you got are now. It was
I only
two.
know what one of them is. I have a ferrofluid ooze, and I don't know what the other one is.
The ferrofluid ooze is the one that had twisted. The unknown one that did the amoeba pillar first, basically, is not the one that now goes for this pencil again. So the ferrofluid one grabs hold of the pencil, absorbs it into itself, at which point it takes the two pencils to its side of the cage and begins to consume them.
Pencils are now on the eat list.
Clara's gonna look at the other one. Well, what do you want then? If he gets the pencils, what do you want?
There's a moment of, you're not sure if it's understanding or like pattern recognition, but it adheres to the glass towards your bed sheets.
Clara is gonna sigh very loudly. Well, I really didn't want to spend money on new sheets. She's gonna go get like a pair of scissors and like cut a corner off them. And drop it into the tank.
You drop it into the tank. It goes over to it. Notices that the other slime is eating the pencils, waits patiently, and uses a proboscis to pop the cloth towards the ferrofluid one, which examines it within itself and then passes it back to the other slime in order for it to consume it, it does eat it in front of you, but only after the other one is checked and absorbed it first for a little bit.
Very interesting. I suppose I'm gonna slide the lid back on. Well, I don't want you getting too big. I've only just got this tank. We'll revisit this later.
The two of
good
them
job.
stand up as you say goodbye. They both stand up in that tall pillar configuration.
It feels like they're waving. Clara's gonna get up from the floor and tuck her arms in and try and make herself into a big pillar.
Yeah, no, they respond by trying to extrude themselves as tall as possible, as you do as well.
Adhira, watching from the door, just goes, "That's cute."
Hey, what are you doing?
I've been watching you feed them.
Okay, first of all, I didn't realize I'd left the door unlocked. You could have
You
said
got-
something.
It was fun watching you concentrate. It's adorable.
Do you flirt with everything with two legs?
I wouldn't really call it flirting, just being. Well, I guess it is flirting. We're friendly, though.
So, what did you learn?
From watching them,
Yes.
maybe that the other one is passing its food to the, you call it the ferrofluid. It somehow checks it, like a tester, make sure it's not poisoned or something.
And that's the idea I got. I'm a little bit unclear as to whether the ferrofluid one is checking it, or if it's just hierarchically more important. So it's deciding first whether it wants it, or if it's, okay to give to the other one. But they do seem to be pretty... I mean, I don't hasten to use the word friendly, but they're dividing things up pretty fairly. They seem to trust each other, and they're not aggressive to each other, so I'm not really sure what I'm learning. But they are filtering and making decisions, which tells me that already they're way more intelligent than we give them credit for.
They're odd little creatures.
Oh, so are we.
Oh, yes.
I have a question that I have no reason to ask, but I am curious. Which slime took the potato peels?
The potato peels went to the ferrofluid slime.
Gotcha.
Maybe you just want some soul food. Are they safe to pet?
They're a slime. Although, they're starting to get pretty good at not actively eating everything. Those pencils were left alone until I told them to eat. So, theoretically, yes, but also they were absorbed for a little bit. So I think if we did that right now, they might take chunks of your skin. Not even on purpose, just because they're trying to figure out what you are.
I will keep my hands to myself then. For once.
Probably good. Oh, do you know what this other slime is, by the way?
Adhira's going to kneel down in front of it. She comes from a settlement that basically lives in a cave, so I assume that she has had experience with slimes before, but does she know or recognize this one?
Give me an intelligence check, just looking at it. You don't recognize this one in particular, no. You've seen the ferrofluid slimes before, but the one you're looking at, must be rare. Like, so normally it depends on the sort of trash that's left around the kind of slime that forms. And with Empress City being such a varied settlement in terms of what people dump and leave around, this could be like plastics, right? Like this, it's something that wouldn't normally be available near where you're from, perhaps, Atira. So yeah, no, unfortunately, it doesn't strike you as anything.
Shrugs.
Well, okay. Maybe I'll have someone else look at it.
Have you
But,
considered names?
I have, but I don't know. I feel like they should have, like linked names, but I can't think of anything clever.
I was gonna call the one we don't know Pudding.
It bonks up against the glass when you say that.
Um,
I think we have a winner.
do you? I don't know.
Okay, so that's the other thing. It just reacted to my voice. So does it understand us, or?
The extent to which they understand is what I'm trying to assess. I told them not to eat the first pencil, and so they tested it and then left it. I told them to eat the scraps, and they did just eat them straight away after they'd figured out which one they want. And when I told them to eat the second pencil and that was okay, then they ate both of them. So there's some sort of pattern recognition going on, and it's very fast. But in terms of core understanding, there's something there. I couldn't tell you how much.
I mean, couldn't you just ask them to bonk once if you can understand us?
Clara's gonna raise an eyebrow and turn around. Bonk once if you understand?
There's like, they both do the same thing when you first walk in and greet them, where like they reset into like a default puddle form and like oscillate a little bit, but this time they both twist towards each other and vibrate, letting out that a similar tone, but not identical, you would say. Before the two of them just both gravitate towards the corner of the tank that's closest to the nearest stuff.
Okay, maybe not. Yeah, maybe not that far yet.
They're definitely reacting.
I don't know which words they might have and might not have heard. I mean, they were down there and we found all the glowmide storage, so there's a chance they've overheard different conversations. Maybe they recognize some words and not others.
They reacted to drugs. Drugs is in the vocabulary.
We get some drugs, we see how they filter the drugs.
No.
One slime, you get all the cocaine.
This is Weed Slime. He's our favorite.
Weed slime rolls joints as well. He doesn't just consume the weed. He just rolls it and then throws it into himself.
Spat out my whiskey. Screw you.
If we give it a Zippo, will it light it?
But yeah, they do seem like, as you're having conversations, occasionally they let out tones, like they stop and they like, but you're right, it's not consistent. It's not like it's a specific word. It just seems to be at random intervals they stop and share this tone between the two of them.
This reminds me of the two aliens from The Arrival.
Oh yeah, with the puff smoke rings and stuff that they blow.
Yes.
Yeah, it's interesting. Maybe I'll get them. I'll have someone else look at them. Also, I maybe want to find something that can replicate that tone.
Tuning fork.
Yeah, I suppose. I'll listen to them closely tonight. I studied enough music. I should be able to recognize what pitch it is.
Ah.
What do you mean, air?
Miss Fancy Pants.
Adhira, I appreciate the thought, but I must remind you I grew up of noble birth. It sounds nice on the outside, but it's more of a requirement than a fun hobby.
I think the chances. No, never mind.
Okay, I won't mind. If you don't mind, can you get out and close the door so I can get changed without you watching me?
Fine.
Thanks.
Wait. Oh, all my clothes are still intact. Okay, they didn't burn up. I had like suddenly remembered if I had something to wear tonight. Ed here leaves.
And I'm going to get changed for the theatre.
All of you who are heading to the theatre, get prepped and ready for the time to roll around. Most of the year twos are heading as well, obviously Delphin being an exception. Amrita's going, Verity, Luis are going, obviously Noctis is going as well. Tamara isn't going, she's got something else on, but yeah, most of them will be there. After like a little bit beforehand, there's a knock on the dormitory door. Oh, also, Clara, did you send the invitation to Connor? I guess that's the.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll like message him, I guess.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, you have a message sent along with the ticket. So yeah, a little bit beforehand, there's a knock at the door. Because you already had permission given for Connor to enter when he wanted, right? If I remember correctly.
Yeah.
This is something you set up. Yeah. In which case, yeah, it's just
Yeah,
a
we got that cleared.
knock on the dormitory door. Someone opens it and Connor like just sort of gives a slight bow and says, I'm here to see Clara theatre this evening. Notices everyone else has dressed up and says, you must be the others coming with us. He steps inside and says, Clara?
Clara, hearing the door, like runs back out to the main room. Oh, sorry, I was just getting changed. You look nice.
And you look lovely as well. It is
Thank you.
nice to see you before you are away. Connor is wearing something that like almost unknowingly matches Clara's outfit. I would think like just on happenstance they look quite like dressed in similar colors with sort of similar highlight colors, but this is a bit more, yeah, it's a more traditional male sort of formal wear for where you guys are from, I would say. He is a bit fancied up for sure.
I forget, did I tell you what we were seeing?
You did not, but the ticket mentioned something about a rising wind.
I think it's some sort of old story, Odyssey-wise.
Whatever the story may be, I shall accompany you.
You don't need to say it like that. I don't need a guard. Well, you are going to disagree with that, but I don't need a guard.
I just meant it wouldn't be right for you to go alone. I know you're going with others, but you know what I mean.
Sure. She's going to turn to the others. Does anyone else want to jump in and say anything here, or no?
No,
It is
I'm keeping it to myself.
a pleasure to see you all again.
Caliban,
you
that
too.
thin-lipped smile.
As you're, there is a knock a little bit after at the door. Andrew shows up. He is wearing like, he's still got the scarf, but it's like a nicer, long, more shawl-like scarf. with a little bit of silver and gold, which matches like the highlights of the outfit that he's wearing. And he's very fancied up, honestly. Wearing something that is like, I guess it's just like a longer sleeve, but he sort of rolled it up a little bit because he's got bracelets of platinum, silver, and gold on each arm with different symbols on them. And then otherwise he's wearing like just like a formal evening wear type thing.
Someone looks dashing tonight.
Well, you did invite me, and I thought you'd probably dress up nice, and I was right, so better we match.
She winks.
At which point, Connor and Andros make each other's acquaintances as well, and introduce to each other, and Andros says hi to the people from year 2 that he hasn't seen around or met otherwise as well. Noctis just says, shall we? Wouldn't do good to be late, especially after I took so long accepting the tickets. He himself is dressed in like full tuxedo style thing, much different to his general style, which is that sort of like gothic, heavy clothing, lots of fabric with an almost like dust cobweb style to it. No, this is like prim, proper, pristine tuxedo, pulled in, tightly tailored.
Well.
I was going to wear it for a part at some point, but never came to be. They said I could keep it. I thought it would be a nice, shall we say, nod to them.
I understand.
Yeah,
Well, let's get going then.
Yeah. You guys head out of the campus. You have to sign yourselves out and, promise to be back by a certain time following the attack from the Glowmite, but otherwise you are allowed out of the compound. For some of you, you don't really know the path you're taking, but for others, you saw it with Noctis earlier. You can see there's a bit of a crowd that is filtering into the building. Heading closer, there is an older gentleman, hair's thinning a little bit, but he's nicely dressed, who notices Noctis from a distance, and the two of them talk to each other briefly. It seems to be by the name of Matthias. Noctis and Matthias have a quick conversation, and you realize Matthias must be the person who owns the venue, you think. But yeah, Noctis kind of gestures at everyone and says, this is everyone from the dorms. You said I should invite anyone I could. I hope you don't mind I used all the tickets. Matthias just says, no, more the merrier. They're good seats, right in the middle. And he sort of like gives a small bow to each and every one of you and says, welcome to the theatre, welcome. Head on in.
Thank you very much.
Above the door as you head in is Firelight Theatre. Heading in, you can see there's a set of doors to the right-hand side with staff labeled on it, which head to like the back rooms where all the actors and stuff are. To the left-hand side is the bar, and people are grabbing refreshments as well. There's like kind of like hot, freshly fried like donuts and things like popcorn and sweets and other things like that can be brought here. And people filtering through that system. If anyone wants to go and grab a snack, they certainly can.
I'm gonna give a sort of sideways glance at Andros. Do I get the sense that he drinks?
You get a sense that Andros has probably never drank in his life. He's a little straight-laced, you would say, just a smidgen.
Then I will behave as well.
He looks at you and says, are you hungry at all?
No, I'm fine. I had a little bit to eat before we left.
Very good. Should we find our seats?
Of course. Do you know this story?
I think I recall reading the original, but I did a little reading up after you invited me. I think it's been heavily adapted, so I don't know how much of it I'll recognize.
It was a book.
Yes, a tale of a man kind of lost at sea, washes up on an island and meets someone, and they go on an adventure together. They make a boat. Also, I think the ship at one point is called up into the air. A lot of people say it was the original idea behind airships, but I think that's a little bit of a stretch since it was picked up by a storm.
How old is this story?
I don't know. Sorry. I guess that information was sort of lost to history. Maybe someone knows, but I don't.
Probably the old man.
Mentor? Father?
Mentor. I also meant the friend I carry around.
Oh, right. Of course. Are they here with us tonight?
They are not. I do need a break every now and then.
Just us then?
Yes. I thought it'd be nicer that way.
And everyone else, of course.
Yes, Tim.
You guys go and sit down. Is anyone grabbing any sort of snack or anything like that? Or want to grab a drink?
I'll do a snack and a drink.
Yeah, it would be easy enough just to grab something. It's expensive, but it's not extortionate, I guess, as with all theater and or otherwise refreshments.
The tickets are free. We can at least pay for concessions.
True. After you guys have gotten what you want and sort of filtered into the space, it's quite obviously what used to be some sort of like large, almost warehouse space, but a lot of fabric's been hung up. The chairs that have been brought in here are like nice red velvet looking chairs, almost like the kind of chair you'd see at like an opera. They've got quite a nice finish to them, though they're a little worn. They've been used a lot. There are two upper area seats, like little booth seats or box seats, I guess you call them, where there are some people sat, but most people are on one level in like a slight raised, almost reminds you of your classroom a little bit, where you've got the tiers of seats that go up, and then the stage is doing sort of something similar. It's sloped slightly, so at the very back of the stage, it's a little higher than where the front of the stage is, but it's such a slight incline, and the stage is really, really long. It actually goes on like quite some distance, and all of the props have been set up in layers, and it creates this interesting depth of field where the horizon seems to swoop away from you, and then there's like a ship that's been built, but you can see where it connects and slides apart, and the front pulls away so that you can see inside the lower areas where there are bunk beds and things, and there's a cornucopia of things to look at, little details, like things carved into the wood on the ship messages, little symbols and things. The sails are like fabric that have been dangled down and seem to be lit up with crystal, giving them this big shadowed impression of the sun coming through it from behind, and other bits and pieces that sort of draw your attention while you're waiting for things to start. As you filter into your seats, is there anything you guys want to like look out for? Anything in the stage that you would be interested in? Are you looking around at who's here as you're all sort of filtering in together? And then my last question is, among all of you, there must be one person at either end of the seating who sits next to someone else in the crowd. Can you tell me who those two people are amongst you that are at these opposite ends next to others?
Are we drawing straws?
So, Uther, you're at one of the ends.
Yeah, sure. Keep the couples in the center.
I don't mind being at the other end.
Okay, Clara, you're at the other end. So it's like Clara, Connor, Adhira, Andrus, Year Twos, and then we've got like Caliban, Uther, something like that. Does that seem?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. You all filter into your seats, sit down. Yeah, was there any of the the stage detailing or anything anyone wanted to take a closer look at, or are you good?
Are there like booths, like higher booths?
Yeah, there are two boxes, one on either side, left and right.
Caliban is just like glancing up, seeing who's there, just out of curiosity.
Yeah, give me a perception check.
Yeah, 1 second. Let me pull up. There I am. Perception. Oh,
16.
not a bad roll.
On the left-hand side of you, up in the booth, with a sort of privacy shawl over the booth, it's hard for you to tell exactly who it is, but at the same time, Caliban, you recognize that the person sat behind this sort of shawl is wearing mourning garb, as in they've got the veil over their face. They've got like the black lace, and you've only really seen one person that wears that in a general day-to-day sense. So you believe the matron to be in the top left booth. In the top right booth, without the privacy veil, give me a history check.
Oof.
You don't recognize the individual, but you do recognize that they are perhaps like someone high up in the Lichtco company. Lichtco do they took over doing like modern train engines. They also give me 1 second.
Lichtco.
They also build airships. They've become very, very important within the city since the Fourth House Rebellion.
Give me a brief refresher of who the matron is.
The matron is the person who runs the church that Dafer donates food to. You guys had a quick meeting with her underneath the church. She is potentially like bonded to a spirit or something like that, according to the lamp that was at Tira's waist.
She's wearing a sort of mourning shawl.
Yeah, it's like a widow in grief. There's that black veil over their face.
Gotcha.
But she seems to wear that all the time.
All right.
The show begins. The lights dim. Oh.
I was wanting to have scouted the crowd kind of when I was getting concessions, just kind of see if anything looks odd.
Do you want to look for suspicious people, or like try and suss out any suspicious energy, like perception or insight? I guess is sort of what I'm asking.
We don't want to see my insight checks.
Okay, perception is. It's quite an intimate audience, all things considered, Uther. It's not a small amount of people, but it's about 140 or so, a little bit over what you imagine their health and safety requirements would need them to have. They're probably 20 people over the limit. Roughly speaking...
The fire marshal would not be pleased.
Yeah, the fire marshal would not be pleased, but at the same time, as you're looking around, the exit's quite clearly marked. You think it's okay. Plus, it looks like they've got people on hand that do have some sort of, like, suppression magics and other things that... It's not devoid of security, although they're doing a great job of pretending that they're more like ushers and stuff like that. But you recognize that a few of them have weapons on them concealed. it may be that with this being a harsher part of the city, sometimes things do happen. That said, as you're looking around the crowd, you see only people from I2 that are here for what you think just to be a good time. Like Noctis said, there's not many places in I2 where someone can come and watch a show. You have to go more inner city normally for that. So this place, it has a sort of beloved feel to it. Everyone here is sort of excited. There's lots of murmuring and smiles. There's no one who isn't engaged in the conversation. There's no one else like you, Uther, right now who stood with their eyes glancing around at everyone else. You're the exception in this room right now who isn't security in the building.
Okay. Would I get the feeling that this place would be considered a neutral spot also?
You absolutely do, yeah. You get, and also when that brief conversation between the owner and Noctis was happening, a few people who could have listened into that conversation very purposely walked or otherwise turned their attention away. The person who owns this place has a lot of respect on their name as well, where people do their best to not get on the bad side of them, or otherwise are just honoring their personal business, as it were.
Gotcha. Okay. Sorry about that. Carry on.
Okay. Lights dim. There is, for the manyth time today for Clara, a tone that fills the hall as the instruments all reach the same note. Everything falls quiet and the play begins. It really is a cross between like the Odyssey with the leading man. He's on an adventure. He heard that there was this sea to cross with a land on the other side, but he was told it was too dangerous. It opens with like him talking to all of his crew about what they're going to do when they get there. But within the first act of the play, everyone else is dead. There's a storm created by the goddess and the scourge as they are battling, and the ship is literally picked up, and they literally lift the like ship set piece with ropes with him on top, and kind of take the ship away, only for the curtains to close and immediately reopen with him led on like this deserted island. And it shows you him meeting the people that live there and how it changes his life. It's a little bit Odyssey, a little bit Pocahontas, and it sort of goes on from there. Uther, as you're sat watching the show, there's a woman sat next to you who leans a bag of confectionery over towards you and very quietly says, I may have got too much.
What is she handing over?
Looking at the bag, it seems to be like a bag of like gelatin gummy sweet things.
Wald.
Hmm.
Wald, you know what these are.
Do I?
I assume gummy bears.
I mean, looking at them, they're more like gummy worms. Gummy bears would be kind of hard for them to mold. It's just like a long, thin gummy worm type thing. Different colors and stuff that's been stretched out. She kind of leans over and just says, I didn't realize they'd be quite so sickly. Very sweet.
I'm going to take one and I am going to pretend that I eat it.
She leans the bag over your lap towards Caliban and leans over and says, would you like one as well?
Wait, offering one to Caliban?
She is, yeah, because it's her, Uther, and you.
Well, it's Caliban. He won't say no to sweets.
Take it.
He'll just grab one.
Yeah, you grab one of these things. Yeah, they're very sweet, Caliban. Perfect for your taste buds. Uther, you might find them a little bit sickly. But she sits back and keeps sort of like engrossing herself in the show. That seems to be all she wanted to do, was offer you one of these these sweets. Doesn't seem to mind that you're still holding onto yours, Uther. Obviously, you're just pretending to sort of eat them, or I don't know if you do eventually do.
Maybe later, not right now. Maybe after the show or something. But
Yeah. A little bit after that interaction, it is intermission time. The curtains close, the lights kind of come back up, and everyone is sort of freed to go about and get more refreshments if they want to or anything like that. Noctis sort of stretches out his legs and says, "Everyone enjoying the show?"
I never expected plays to be like this.
Like what? Sorry.
Just, I thought it was people going about doing lines on stage, but there's so much more that goes into it.
Noctis nods and says, "Yes, there's a lot more people at work than just the people on the stage. Like I said, I used to do the set, well, I still do sometimes do the set dressing. I've just been busy lately." Amrita stands up to go leave and then notices the woman that kind of handed the gummy worms over to Caliban and to Uther. She smiles and says, "Vera, I didn't think I'd see you here tonight." This woman who handed you the sweets, she's kind of half Heraean, you think? Like half Empress, half Heraean, bespectacled, short hair that comes down to about her shoulders. Vera, yeah, Vera. And she smiles and just says, "I did see you coming in, but I didn't want to talk too much while the show was on. No one likes an interruption, although the sweets here, rather sweet. Dark black hair." Amrita and her have a brief conversation. It sounds like Vera works at a local library and did some recommendations for the book club. Amrita says, "The book club were impressed. It really helped them with picking out their next book. They said there was some on the recommendation list that they hadn't heard of before." Vera nods and she says, "Well, pretty new to the library, and when you're new, people don't like to overload you with too much stuff at once. I find being idle makes the day too long, so I had to go through some of the archives in the back room. Picked out some rather interesting pieces, so I thought I'd recommend them." And Amrita just says, "Yeah, no, they were pretty thankful." And then she says, "But I stood up for a reason. I must go to back," and then she sort of heads off. Vera looks over towards you, Uther, and says, "You must be a student at East Academy, then?"
what gave me away? I just smiled.
Just the company you keep, I guess. I couldn't have told otherwise.
So, librarian then?
Yes, Witch's Nook. Round the corner from where you are, but I don't think I've seen you there. At least I don't recognize
Been
you.
busy.
Oh.
Been busy. Been needing to head that way.
Of course, of course. You must be Caliban, yes?
Yes.
Sorry, I don't mean to know more than you do about me, but it was in the newspaper that you were coming to East Academy. I do like to read.
I see. Well, alright then. Just, I guess he just sort of holds a hand out.
She takes it and shakes and says, "It would actually do our library quite a bit of good if you yourself were to visit. I am sure that being patroned by someone of your stature would probably help things out."
Very well. Just out of character, this is the other library outside of the academy?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, which is
Okay.
It's like is that attached to like the general college in the area? I think
It's like around the corner. It's barely off campus, I guess is probably the best way to describe it. Like from the courtyard where you were looking at the embassy and stuff, you could almost see it. It's sort of a circular building on the corner.
Gotcha.
How does specifically Caliban react to having been recognized from a newspaper article? Well, given that he's part of like a noble line, like being known is like kind of a
It's like-
given, but being specifically recognized is like, well, okay, just a little taken aback, but not disappointed.
Was that a yes to a visit?
Yes.
Perfect. Before you leave for your trip, please.
I like her. She knows what she wants.
She holds out the bag with gummy worms in it, and you can have another.
I will take another, just a little bit more cautiously.
Fucking read him like a book.
Hey, Caliban is on my right, yeah?
Technically, Caliban would be a little bit further to your left, I think, on the far side.
Okay, never mind.
But I mean, most of the people between you and Caliban would have gotten up and moved away. If you wanted to see this, you certainly could have.
Quick insight check. Is he being fed edibles?
You can make an insight check, yeah. 17? No, but Caliban does seem to have a weakness to these gummy worms that you were not expecting. It seems almost compulsion based.
Oh no. I lead him to it, and I just sort of sit with my date. She gives him every once in a while, like, concerned glances after the exchange of information that was earlier this morning.
He would notice. He would say, is everything okay? I'm enjoying the play. I don't know about you.
Oh, yeah, I'm enjoying it.
It's just you keep looking at me concerned. It isn't something I've done, is it?
No. Do you remember when you were walking earlier this morning?
Well, it was this morning, and how could I forget?
Did you also feel that connection?
I mean, yes, of course. I mean, why do you think I'm here with you tonight?
I mean, well, now it's happened, it's a bit harder to explain what I felt, but I feel like I have a sense of things. Sort of know a bit more about you than I did before, and her hand comes up and just sort of rests over his. I think you're worried about something.
Well, I have been accused of being a worrier, I suppose. My whole life has been tied to the future. It's hard not to obsess about it. But right now I'm here.
You're right. Let's just enjoy ourselves. She squeezes his hand.
Just smiles. Slight blush, but smiles. Is there anything anyone else would like to do?
Question.
Yeah, Dave.
Vera offered Caliban a second gummy worm. Did she do so because just out of the kind of like normal social reward expectation, like, hey, you did something for me, here, little kitty, have a
I
nice
know what you're
reward.
thinking.
Or-
Don't get any ideas.
Or did she? Yes, I could also go down that route, Caliban, but I didn't plan on doing so. Or did she very quickly just realize Caliban's utter weakness and immediately started exploiting it?
It's.
She's researched.
I mean, Dafer, unfortunately, you're not there. If someone wants to make an insight check, I would say they can in that moment about that fact. But with you not there, Dafer, it's a good question, but I can't ask you to make a check about it.
Yeah, Dather.
Yeah. See, some of us need to be studious.
If only there was a passive wisdom check to notice.
I think someone would have to be interested in that interaction to sort of notice it. But yeah.
I'm there. I just, man, my wisdom score.
You can always roll the dice. The worst I can say is no.
Yeah.
Always remember, relentless.
Oh, I get now nat 20.
-2 on survival checks.
Uther is just a slight bit paranoid today.
Yeah, go for it. 3?
Nope.
Oh,
Even Uther thinks he's being unreasonably paranoid today, apparently.
Uther, you're just like, well, I mean, he accepted so quickly before, and he very quickly ate the last one. She probably just noticed he liked them. It seems reasonable
This is
enough.
neutral territory, and surely no one's going to be actively poisoning people.
Plus,
Yet.
I mean, if someone poisoned Caliban, would Caliban even notice? Caliban's got some weird shit
Probably
going on.
not.
just ask, hey, Caliban, make a quick constitution check. Rolls high. Yeah, you notice nothing. Things goes down easy.
Spicy gummy worm.
Yeah.
Caliban just spawns more liver tissue around the area to locally detoxify it.
This man has 4 livers. What the fuck?
Oh yeah, I keep on forgetting that Ahira just saw his like whole nervous system like just changing itself.
Mm-hmm.
Dude is built weird.
Different.
Eventually, everyone returns to their seats. The rest of the play happens. I'm delighted to tell you that nothing weird happens. There's no strange attack. No one reveals a tragic backstory. It's a nice evening at the theater. The play sort of ends with him having to choose between staying here on the island and realizing that the landmass just in the distance that he could see on the horizon was the place that he set off for in the first place. And when he chooses to stay, the woman that he met on the island talks to him, and in the end, what they agree to do is to go there together. And the story ends with them building a ship together in order to reach this landmass, with the two of them sort of working together to make it. And that's kind of where the play ends. There's no like super high note or like real climactic finish to it. More like this quiet resolution between the two of them to continue this journey, but together. Everyone claps as like the final scene plays out. Leading man and lady kind of stand up, bow. People are handed things like little flowers and petals to throw from members of staff that you can throw out onto the stage and things like that. A little bit afterwards, everyone starts sort of filtering out into the bar, back onto the street. Vera seems to have sort of joined the group slightly and is talking to a couple of the year 2s. Amrita in particular is talking to her. The two of them seem to work quite closely with her student council staff. But yeah, you guys make out onto the street quite late, with maybe only about an hour before you really need to be back and signed back in. Connor looks over to you, Clara, and says, How did you find it? I don't think I've ever seen that story before.
Me neither. But I like it. It's a nice ending.
I think it needed singing. I think I would have preferred it if there was singing.
You... Interesting. I didn't take you for someone interested in musicals.
I don't know, it just felt like every time they stopped talking about something, I was like, well, now you should sing about it.
I understand what you mean, strangely. Maybe you should make a suggestion.
Do they have a box or something?
Oh. I mean, I don't know. Noctis brought us these tickets, so presumably he knows something about who works here.
Connor, just kind of clears his throat and says, Noctis, do you have a moment? Noctis turns and is like, yes, we're just walking back, so he says, you have contacts within the theatre, correct? You could say that. I help out there sometimes. Singing. I think next time they should do this, but with singing. There should be songs. Noctis says, well, that sounds really interesting. Do you have any musical talents? Connor stops for a moment and says, well, I mean, I can sing, but I wouldn't want to do so on stage. Noctis is like, well, what about off stage? Not every voice you heard was front. Sometimes they have choirs from the corners. You could sing there as well. If you're going to suggest something, you should offer something as well. Connor stops and thinks about it for a moment, looks over at you, Clara, and says, you play an instrument as well, don't you, Clara?
Oh, I knew this was coming. I play at least 2, and I learnt to sing and to waltz. If you really won't do it by yourself, I suppose.
Then I volunteer, but only if Clara does too.
Then I volunteer.
Noctis,
giggling to
This is a
herself.
hostage negotiation.
Noctis grins and just says, right, 2 volunteers it is. This has been fruitful. Now, if only I could have gotten Tamara to come. As he pursues Luis, as he's just like, and you play, and she was, no, Noctis, like walking away with Vera kind of dangling from his arm as the two of them walk a little quicker in front of Noctis. Vera will, as Amrita kind of steps ahead to join in the needling of Luis, Vera will join kind of the rest of the class 1 that she doesn't talk to. So mostly Clara and Atira, obviously Dayfor isn't here. Introduce herself to the 2 of you. I was at the other end. Nice to meet you. My name's Vera. I work at the library. Not the one on campus, but nearby.
Pleasure. My name's Clara.
A pleasure. And you are? She looks to you, Atira. Oh, sorry, I just saw that. Be right back. But yeah.
Deaf. She's deaf.
She's deaf and dumb.
This is Adhira.
A pleasure to meet you, both of you. I don't mean to put you on the spot. Clara, that name rings a bell. From abroad, are you?
Clara tries her best not to roll her eyes because she can feel what's coming. I'm from Heaven's Pillars.
That's perfect. I happen to have found a collection of old books from the Heaven's Pillar region. I was wondering if come by and help me out at some point. I need to work out what of the stories and books I found are common where you're from, and ones that are a little rarer. I would like to petition to have them sent back to your home. You know.
Yeah, I don't see why that would be a problem. Is there any particular date you need this done by?
Well, I understand that you have an away mission in a few days. If you could do it before that, that would be great. But if not, then obviously I understand.
Are you open tomorrow?
Open every day.
I can swing by tomorrow.
I'll see you there. When you say you're from Heaven's Pillar and your name is Clara, you are not the Clara that was in the newspapers.
She absolutely is.
Stop it. I really don't like it when people refer to me as the Clara. Yes, that one, though. I am that Clara.
Just Clara, it is. I don't mean to put you on the spot, but we're doing certain promotions for the library, trying to make it a little more well-known, not just to the campus. If you do visit and you like your time there, would you write a recommendation that I could put on a poster or something?
I'm sure I could. Well, no, I suppose I'll let other people be the judge of that. I was going to say I'm not sure how much stock people put in what I think, other than knowing my name. But that's not really for me to decide in any case. If it's a nice place, of course.
I think that, given the new relationship, unfortunate as it is, there'll probably be more of an influx of people from your homeland in the city. Maybe they'll find a familiar name comforting and a comforting place alongside it.
Yeah, it's a very good point. There are also some things that I might be able to find in your library that could help. I've been through quite a few things on the school campus, but I have some special interests that I can't really find many books about, so perhaps something you have will be helpful to me.
Library is interesting in that it was a private collection, which makes it a little bit more eclectic, but also some interesting variation as well. I'm sure you'll be able to find at least something you're looking for.
Yeah, it sounds good.
Gummy worm?
Clara looks down at them. Yes, thank you.
Very good. This has gone well. I suppose you'll have to be back soon.
Yes, I don't think we want to miss curfew.
Pleasure meeting you all, and safe travel back.
Of course. You as well.
Take care.
She heads away from the group, saying her goodbyes in a general sense to everyone.
Can I, now that she's walked away, can I make an insight check on her?
Mm-hmm.
I just want to know, I'm getting a distinct, she's trying to set something up vibe, but I don't know if that's just me being like, suspicious that someone cares about us.
What you can tell, Clara, is she's put a lot of time into the approach that she's taken here. You get the feeling that this is the end of a set of impatience. This is someone who's been waiting patiently and given up waiting. So they've sort of taken a risk by just sort of throwing out what they want, in a sense, I guess is the way I'd describe it. If that makes any sense to you, Clara?
Yeah, that does. Weirdly enough, I think that makes me appreciate her more, and I was expecting to appreciate her less.
Did you think she was going to be like a terrorist or something?
No, I just really thought it was going to be like, oh, this is, I just want an easy out. But the fact that I'm getting the sense that, she's tried stuff, she's waited, and this is more of oh my god, I really just want this to work. I've got respect for that, just to come out and be like, here are my cards. Take it or leave it.
Yeah.
I like that.
Did you eat the gummy worm?
I have eaten the gummy worm.
Is someone that is built relatively normal suffering any side effects of this gummy worm?
Apart from the fact that Clara, you would find it like very, very sickly sweet, which maybe is your thing or not, Clara, but it would be very sweet. There's no adverse effects. Super sugary.
I saw Caliban eating one, and I could have sworn that it would have been drugs, but taking a look at the bag, no.
Do I see Uther looking at, like, observing me eating a gummy worm?
I think so, yes.
Clara's gonna look over at him. Do you
I'm
not
going
want
to pull it,
yours?
like, out of my shirt pocket. I was told never to take candy from strangers. I'm sorry.
He has a point.
I think that's more for when you're a child, not for when you're a trainee Empress Knight.
Granted, we do have a political aspect to our jobs now.
Can't be seen
I'm not-
accepting bribes.
I'm sorry, I'm not about to politicize gummy worms.
Quotes.
No, I just...
Quotes.
Listen, I have a very not good constitution, so I'm hesitant to just eat whatever's handed to me sometimes, you know?
I need to get
And I
you
will take a
smoothie.
bite of the gummy bear.
Yeah, what I would describe to you, Uther, is a society that has discovered that you can use gelatin and sugar to make a sweet gummy sweet, but has not yet perfected the art of condensing fruit flavors into a gummy form. So it is.
So it is just pure sugar.
It's
gelatin.
just sweet gummy
That's
with
god
none of the
awful.
fruit juice like accompaniment. It's not like sweet orange. It's just sweet worm.
Okay, so I survive it.
You do survive it, yes.
He like looks at the half that he didn't eat and just like finds a trash can and just flicks it in there. Just
You monster.
Caliban watching aghast.
I figured
the
Caliban
thing.
would be too noble to eat after someone else.
Is this the point where
Waste
Caliban
not,
challenges
want
Uther to a
not.
duel?
But yeah,
I should get you some of the spicy candy we have from the Laments.
you guys make your way back to the campus, able to get back in fine. Head in for a night's rest. Apart from going to dinner with Caliban at his family home, does anyone have anything they want to do on their Sunday? I know obviously we've got Dayfer continuing work on their rune stamp. Is there anyone more for anything more?
Actually, one second. As part of that, I'm roping. Who's a materials expert? That would be obvious for this kind of thing.
From the workshop, Dylan's probably the closest from your year, as Izzy's more of a runes person. Although she is starting to work more with materials if you would like her instead.
I need a rush job.
Then
So
Dylan.
I'm asking Dylan. If I had time, I would ask Izzy, but I have like 3 days to produce results.
Yeah. Okay. You go to him. He looks at you. Says, "Everything going okay with the shard smites?"
He notices the eye rings, that Dayfer is slowly starting to accumulate.
You look like some of the third year. What's up?
Yeah, we're cramming, or at least I am. So
Right.
I have notes. It produces like a stack of notes that he took from the various approaches, like likelihoods of materials I'm encountering on missions, how you can get stuff imprinted into them, how long they're gonna last, like how realistic, etc. pp. And like, I need your advice on this. I want
Get some
to be
sleep.
able. I can work through this.
Okay, alright. Tell me what the problem is.
So, surfaces. 10 hold rooms,
Yes.
but to varying degrees of effectiveness.
Right.
Sometimes you just need an effect and you need it quick. So I need to be able to put a rune, or in either in series or like individually, on surfaces quickly. It doesn't need to last long. It just needs to be able to have some effect. Be able
Right.
to imprint it for some amount of time.
But
It needs to be able to work on varied surfaces, and
Yeah.
ideally in a way that allows me to swap out the rune in varying amounts of flexibility.
So-
It depends on the approach.
The varied surfaces thing is the problem you're gonna have. Most runes
Yeah.
are quite finicky about what they take root in. I mean, the way I see it, you've got two options. You embed a small amount of the material required into the surface that is stamped, like you have a small coin that is embedded when you stamp it, or you go for negative space runes where you take a shape out of something and the negative space is the rune.
Okay. I think I had some. I think I read some of that approach in the book. I had read some mention there. I mean, I have some. I think I have notes on that. Like, go through my pile of notes, fish some out, like skim through them real quick. Didn't that have potential problems with unknown amounts of energy you need on more harsher surfaces, particularly, I don't know, steel or something?
Yeah, I mean, the big problem is they all have sort of inverted meanings, which means that if you try and do something complicated, you get double negatives and they cancel each other out. So it's better for small, simple things.
Mm-hmm. But the benefit is I don't have a limit of charge, which is kind of the goal.
And it works on pretty much any material you can take a chunk out of, as long as it's more like a sheet than, the ground or something like that.
I think this seems more like the more sensible approach to me. It doesn't need to be the strongest effect. Ideally, it lasts longer if I go that route.
Mm-hmm. He sits down with
something
you
to be able to-
and sort of like takes all that anxious energy and words you have and starts directing it in a certain path that he knows will kind of work within the time frame that you've got. Like the idea starts to coalesce into something more than like frantic possibility into purpose. I think is probably what he starts trying to direct you down the path of.
I'd essentially be. I think at some point, either I already had when meeting him, or by the time our first meeting is over, I have gone to grab an entire canister of coffee.
He's like,
and
if you weren't
I think, but
EK student, I'd say something like, that'll kill you, but I'm pretty sure it won't, so carry on.
it's fine. Once we're more in the flow of things, it'll work on its own.
So with that in
entirely ignoring the hell aspect.
Yeah, with that in process, right now what you guys are working on is getting a first working prototype, seeing if it works, and like that's what you'll spend the beginning of your Sunday on up until you head with Caliban. Anyone else? Anyone got any more experiments with the slimes or anything like that they want to do? Oh, obviously there's the library visit that you promised, Clara.
Yeah, I'm gonna get to the library tour.
Okay. Heading into the Witch's Nook, it's a little circular, almost like a tower. It is a little bit like bigger than your brain would conjure up with like a wizard's tower. It's a bit chunkier than that, and it goes up about 4 or 5 floors. Heading inside, Yeah, give yourself exhaustion day for it. I think that's fair. Heading inside, the inside of the Witch's Nook is like there's a central desk, which is a circle where there are some people in there that help serve individuals. There's also a cafe that is like built into one of the tower walls on one side. But other than that, it's a spiral staircase that heads up with bookcases all up. When you head inside, it's like hollow all the way to the top, where there's a dome ceiling and colored light filtering in through stained glass, which gives everything inside it like a warm glow, like it's by a fireside is sort of the color of the light within the building. And yeah, there's just books upon books upon books that head all the way up the walls, and you can see it's tiered as it heads upwards.
Nice place.
It's got some people in here, but it's very not rushed or busy even. There's quite a few people on the higher levels kind of perusing things, but down here in like the seating area, there's not many people reading, you notice, looking around, Clara.
What are they doing?
There are a few people that are like here getting a coffee or something like that. There are some people here who look like they're trying to hit on the librarians at the desk at present, and then there's one person that is like walking over to grab a book to take away.
Okay. Do I see Vera anywhere?
Not when you first arrive, but after like taking it in and looking around a little bit, you see a head pop out from one of the higher tiers as she looks over. A bell rang when you walked in, and then she kind of smiles down at you from one floor up, and she waves at you. Clara!
Hello.
I'll be down in a second. And she starts like coming round the staircase, and she's talking to you the entire time she's coming down, but she's like too far away for you to actually hear, but she doesn't seem to raise her voice or care that you can't particularly hear her. And she comes back up towards you and says, "You kept your promise. That's wonderful. Thank you."
Of course. I wouldn't have agreed to it if I didn't actually intend to come.
Well, not everyone is as well-mannered as you.
I suppose that's true. So,
Yes.
what did you need? Yes.
Books. Follow me.
Sure.
She starts walking, heading down to like lower floors, deeper into the tower. You notice you head through a staff door. She's like taking you kind of behind the scenes. She still says, "The books we have on display, we rotate them out. You see, a lot of the ones we keep out because they're popular. Lots of people read them, but we try and filter through as many different sets of books as possible. But honestly, it takes a long time to get through everything, and there's a lot of books down here. I don't know if you heard last night, but I'm new, so I've had some time to go through the archives between my duties. That's when I uncovered the books from Heaven's Pillar. I've only been to your homeland a few times, but I loved it there. I love the forests, I love the animals, and I just think it's delightful. I've been reading a few of the books I found, and they're all very interesting. I just wondered whether you could tell me if you think any of them are rare."
Of course. It's always nice to hear that someone appreciated my homeland. The forests and the animals, they're probably the thing I miss the most about being here.
Yes, not much in the way of tall trees or the morning chorus or, well, even some of the fruits you can get that way. Although I do hear they're coming into the markets, but I doubt they're fresh.
Maybe not as fresh, but we've got to take what we can get.
Very true, you must. She opens it up. One of many doors you've passed, and it leads into like a dusty underground. It almost looks like once upon a time it's probably a crypt or something like that, but now it's just piled up with books as far as you can see. But in one corner, some of the books have been taken away, like dusted off, cared for, oiled and polished and properly like kept and loved. And you can see your native tongue inscribed into old leather covers. Some of them look truly ancient, you would say, as you're looking at them, even from a distance, Clara.
Gosh. Well, it's plain to see that you care for these things a lot, or at least someone does.
Yes, I mean, when I found them, they were a little worse for wear, to be honest with you, but no, I've done my best in restoring them to what they deserve to be.
Well, I can already tell you that some of these are exceptionally old.
Yes, she walks over to one book in particular, which is quite a heavy set book. She says, I think this isn't paper, so to speak. I think it's dried sheets of bark from, I forget what you call them, but the very, very tall trees that you used for building houses in. I think it's like barkwood of some description.
Having a look at it, does that appear to be the case?
Yeah, taking a look at it, it's like sheets of bark that have been pressed and treated, and then instead of using inks, it's like dyes that have been put into the wood in order to make the lettering and stuff. Would have taken ages.
Yes, your assessment appears to be pretty much spot on. This is sadly kind of a dying art form now, with the ability to actually print books. Most people don't find the need to use the old methods, but I hear they're quite popular among collectors, and, well, rare, certainly, is how I would describe them.
Well, this place was once upon a time just a coffee shop, but the owner was an avid book collector. They decorated the upstairs with their books, and apparently people came more for the reading than the coffee shop, so it all got converted. A lot of the collection, though, wouldn't fit, so ended up down here. It doesn't surprise me that they've got some gems. What does surprise me is something like this was forgotten down here.
I suppose so. Although, over time, if it changes hands, and especially if no one really knows how to look after these pieces, they just become an afterthought.
There was some rot on one of the pages, but I think I mostly managed to cleanse it away. Although the lettering's still a little blurry.
It's, I suppose, not uncommon when you're using such materials. I think these were always meant to be... Well, I suppose the way you're looking after them now is how they were always supposed to be looked after.
Yes, there's well, you wouldn't believe it, but there's a book on preserving books here. I found it as quickly as possible and gave it a read.
That makes sense.
Anything else of interest? I have to admit, I visited your homeland enough. I can say enough to get by, but reading words, well, not so much.
Let me take a look. I'm just gonna scan through some of the titles, or flip through a couple of pages. Is there anything interesting I find?
The barkwood book or the other books in general? Which one do you want to look at first?
I suppose I'll start with the barkwood book since I'm currently holding it.
You find, interesting enough, in the barkwood book, an account of a spirit named Terminus and struggles that a individual had with them in Heaven's Pillars, in that they were making mushroom rings, and people were harvesting the mushroom rings, and apparently the spirit had began putting different effects into the harvested mushrooms, including changing color, only able to speak truths even when they would like to lie, other minor effects like that, playing pranks on individuals for taking their mushroom rings, basically. And there's an account of an accord between Terminus and these individuals about deals that were made about where would not be harvested from, where would be harvested from, offerings given, and things like that.
Clara's gonna chuckle at that one to herself and make sure she recalls that for later, and then I'll start shuffling through the rest of the boxes.
Going through different books, you can see there are some storybooks of children's stories that you've heard before, but some of these seem to be earlier versions, they're a little bit grimmer and darker. You know, like the further back in time you go, the more society hadn't smoothed out the edges of, you know, stories of people that put on shoes and have to dance forever. You know, it goes from being a ha-ha jovial, they solved everything, to like, oh no, they died dancing. Like, and there's bits and pieces like that you discover. And then you find an account of an animal that underwent very rapid evolution within the forest itself, seemingly in response to like an outside predator being introduced. And it gives an interesting account of its ability to convert itself into copies of trees, like an animal that could very quickly turn itself into a plant.
Interesting. I'm gonna pop the book closed. Oh, actually, does it say the name of what that thing is?
Well, there's some confusion in the book because they're not sure if the animal can ever change back, so they're unsure whether to name it a new species or to name a new species of tree or not. And it's kind of stuck. Like, the author of the book isn't sure what to do.
This one's interesting. Animals who can turn into trees, or have turned into trees. I can't say I've ever seen this one before.
She smiles and says, you're welcome to take it and read it if you want.
Yes, if you don't mind. I think I rather would.
Of course.
I can itemize these others for you. Some of them are quite rare, especially the ones that are made with this method. There are some, I suppose, more well-known stories, but let's say the unrevised versions, maybe not suitable for children.
I'll just do my best to find a way to preserve them safely then. I know it's tough, but if you could grade them on how rare you think, like just 1 to 10, so that I've got some inkling of what to be put away to preserved and what I can petition to have sent back to your home. Would that be something you could do?
Oh, absolutely. I don't really have any other plans today, so it'll give me a chance to have a quick flick through these as well.
You can do it here, or we can head back up to the top. Coffee, perhaps?
I think I'll do it here, and I'm okay on coffee. Thank you, though. This place is, well, it kind of almost looks like pardon the intrusion, but it almost looks like a burial chamber.
Oh, yes, I believe it was. This building used to be a memorial chamber. I forget what for, sorry, I'm new here. I know one of the other librarians did tell me. I can check if you want.
Yeah, if you don't mind.
Okay.
But it makes me feel a little bit more connected to all these parts of history, to be in something a little bit more historical. So if it's not a problem, I'll work down here.
No, that's fine. I'll go ask and I'll come down and then I'll work on some bits and pieces and we can just share the space, the two of us.
Yeah, that sounds good.
She goes up. She brings herself down coffee. She also brings like a pot of boiling water, which has got a tea bag steeping in it, just in case the two of you decide that you would like a tea or something like that at some point in the future, even though it might be cold by then. She tells you this structure was built to commemorate some of the Crusades. Apparently, there were a lot of attempts by Empress City to take back old Zemes back in the day, especially during the Era of Grief. Not many of them succeeded, but these burial sites were used to house the memories of individuals for whom the bodies could not be retrieved. But gosh, so long ago now that a lot of these places have, well, they used to be built on the outskirts of what was the settlement, but now it's almost, absorbed by it. So here we are.
Kind of a sad story. That it's nice that there's still places that commemorate those things.
Yes, I like places like this. I like places like the conservatory and the pyre lights, the theatre. I like the places in the city that remind me that sometimes it's not just a big place that consumes. Resources come in, but it's not for nothing. It sustains places like this, places with people.
I suppose. No, actually, you are right. I think, perhaps me more than most other people, I've definitely been guilty of seeing the name of Empress City and just thinking about all of the things that I wish it hadn't done. But actually, most of the places and people and things that are here, they had nothing to do with those decisions. And I should appreciate them for what they are.
I'm glad you feel that way. I feel the same. I think the leadership has convinced a lot of people that they're doing it for them, but I think at the end of the day they're doing it for, if not themselves, some sort of misbegotten idea. Although I didn't say that to an Empress Knight in training, of course.
Well, then an Empress Knight in training definitely also didn't tell you that sometimes she thinks negatively about the place she's training to protect.
And thus the secrets that were exchanged stayed in the chamber of memories to never be remembered or forgotten at the same time.
Now that sounds like it could be a good story.
If only I could write. I'm more of a voracious reader than a voracious writer.
Yeah, Clara's gonna giggle to herself and then, like, flick through a couple of pages of the next book.
Okay. Spending your time noting down as she asked, yeah? I don't know if there's anything else
Yes.
in particular you would like to do.
Um,
Let me sure.
I'm gonna keep my eyes open. I know I've already got that book about the rapid evolution of an animal, but I think Clara is gonna keep her eye out for more books that could help with the slimes, because that's what I couldn't really find in the school library. And given that a lot of these are from my home, where a lot of nature is forced to, or I suppose like the people are forced to live alongside nature, I figured they might have something that could possibly help me.
Yeah, give me an investigation check with advantage.
Oh, lovely. Investigation.
12.
12.
With a little bit, like, I don't know if you want to tell Vera what you're looking for.
Yeah, I will just, like, mention it to her absent-mindedly. Not perhaps with such information as, oh, I need something to help me domesticate these slimes I stole from the sewer.
I'm ranching slimes, please. Yeah, no, I'm interested in slimes. Do you know any good books? She points you in the direction, after you're, like, done with the little project there, she'll take you into another chamber where she's been also working. She goes through a little pile of stuff and then dusts off, like, a few different books. She just says, I remember seeing slimes mentioned somewhere in here. Looking through it, you find a couple of interesting pieces of information. One, someone did a study on slime colonies, and it turns out that, as you noticed earlier, or hypothesized earlier, they have interesting hierarchical structures within them. It doesn't seem to be that certain slimes are innately above others, though. It's more like they have some sort of instinctual knowledge of which of the slimes is in charge or decision making. You also discover that the other slime that you have near you is a fiber slime. It's a slime that likes textiles or turns up where like someone's hair gets plugged in a drain. Anything fibrous. Sometimes even grass cuttings can lead to them showing up. But they're a little bit rarer because there are other slimes that tend to subsume them quicker. That no one really understands why certain slimes will absorb other slimes and become like the big mum slime where it was like lots and lots of smaller pods. Technically it's still multiple individuals, but one of these pods is in control of all the others. That happens to fibrous slimes a lot, and it's interesting from what you're reading that your metallic slime has decided not to. It could be that it's because it's just the two of them, or maybe they've got a more unique relationship going on. But yeah, you do find one book that is talking, as you're just like skimming through it, you find interesting stuff. You could take it and read more about it later down the line if you wanted to.
Yeah, I'm just gonna ask Vera like whether it's okay for me to take the slime book.
She nods and says, just check out at the desk anything that you want to bring. It's not technically in public rotation, but I mean, since you're helping us out and all.
Thank you. I'll make sure to bring it back when I'm finished.
I trust you.
Cool. And then I will write up my notes on the rarity of the books that she's given me to sort through.
Yeah, she takes them with thanks and begins composing a letter, which she'll send to, essentially, to the judges to get permission to just send the books back, basically, without any sort of hullabaloo, hopefully.
Oh no, these are too valuable to be sent back to a place that doesn't have conditions to take care of them.
That is a valid argument that sometimes is made. I suppose valid is questionable. But
oh my god, the British Museum, no.
They will sometimes say, no, it must be kept here because it wouldn't be preserved properly anywhere
They
else.
wouldn't know what to do with this.
The
The thing that they made and came from them.
The bark book is probably the question mark of all of it, but everything else is probably safe. But that bark book probably might end up in a museum. Yeah. But yeah, she'll try her best.
Cool.
Anyone else?
I think Adhira, waking up late again, losing the diligence of training under her old mentor, she spends most of the morning sort of like lazing about, reading books. I think the boredom eventually gets to her, and a familiar bad habit kind of comes tapping at her brain. She is going to go down into the city, find some place busy but with a lot of foot traffic, and she is going to start watching people to see if she finds an easy mark.
Give me an insight check. There are quite a few people that stand out to you, Atira. There's a few couriers that are a little overwhelmed, a little flustered. They look like they might be lost. Those are obvious ones to you. There is a wealthy-looking gentleman that stood outside of a shop, which you believe his wife is probably in, but he refuses to wait inside and is sort of like tapping his foot, looking at his very expensive watch, waiting. And then there is some sort of surveyor in the street. He has a instrument that looks like it might be measuring something. He's pointing it at the ground, at the road itself, as far as you can tell. But he's quite transfixed on that, and his pockets are rather unguarded. Those are the three sorts of marks, as you would put it, that you can see.
This richer man, his impatience leads him to fidget, yeah?
It does. Yeah, he's tapping his foot, he's checking his watch, he's huffing, he's looking up at the sky, like, oh my god, is the sun really that position in the giant shimmering protective dome? Fucking hell, like, yeah.
Am I able to see whether or not his wallet is connected by a chain?
Looking at it, it is not connected by a chain. It's quite a chunky looking wallet, and it's not peeking out the pocket, but you can see the shape. It's a little, like, it's almost like a little too big for the pocket, very stuffed in there, which actually in itself can make it, it's easier to replace the feeling of, because you just need to put a little bit of pressure on it. It's harder to get out of the opening, and if he feels the tug, then he might look. That's the sort of situation with the wallet.
What if I could do that whole accidentally bump into him,
Mm-hmm.
give him a little, compliment, or ask him, oh, how's your day? Have a nice day. Your wife in there? You have a pretty lady? And as I'm distracting him, sticky fingers.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can use the bump to disguise the pull. So because people tend to tune out how much pressure is on their leg, you like forget the feeling. They won't notice it gone. But yeah, you can use the bump to try and like pull it out. Is that the...
Yes. And is there an alleyway by the store?
Yeah, I mean, it's a nice fronted store, looks like a closed store. To the side of him, there isn't, but if you keep going to the right, it tucks away and there's like a side alley where people put their garbage cans.
Okay, that is going to be my exit, where if things go wrong, I slip through there and go out the other side with my shell. Is she feeling that tingle of excitement? She executes.
So, first of all, give me either performance or persuasion, just for his impression of you, and then I'll know whether you're making a sleight of hand check with advantage or not with the pull, because obviously how he is charmed by you or not will determine how much he suspects you. You are just a clueless foreign girl who is very pretty that happened to bump into him on the street. Give me a sleight of hand check with advantage. And how could someone like you so easily lift a big heavy wallet from his pocket? There is not a inch of doubt in his mind as you walk away that you are nothing but a well-meaning young girl that happened to get overwhelmed by the big city. You walk away and around the corner. Wallet nestled in your palm.
A smile of greed and exhilaration splitting her face. She continues walking for some time just to make sure she's clear, and she would like to check the identity of the man she just stole from.
Before you do, as you're starting to open the wallet, there's a shiver up your spine, and a voice says, "That was incredible."
That's what I used to do every day.
Why aren't we doing that every day?
I know!
We could be rich! How much is in there?
I don't know!
Well, open it!
I open it!
There's a couple of cards in here. One you recognize as a money card. One is his ID card that he would need for the train or access to anything in the city. Then you've got like... It looks like little cards, business cards from different people in different companies. It's stacked full of stuff. Obviously, you can't innately read the ID card. It would need to go on a scanner. So unfortunately, you don't know the name of the guy, but you've got his ID.
And is there a way to get his money?
Well, the money card is technically unbound from individuals, so you can take any money card you want and put money on it. If you lose it, that's on you. So
God, that's such a poor system.
This system doesn't track that. Basically, anytime you pick up a money card, it's a like £5 note that could be worth any amount of money when you check it.
It's just prepaid gift cards societally.
It is. That's a great way of looking at it. Yeah. You also note that he has a small crystal twig in his wallet, like a little magical doohickey that does something. It's similar to the one that Axel uses to light his cigarettes, for example. It's like that sort of thing.
Well, I guess this is just me as a player being paranoid. Any chance that could track me?
Give me an investigation check on the little stick. It does have a maker's mark on it. It looks like it's like probably someone who's pretty well respected, so this is probably fairly expensive. It's not that someone could innately track you by it, but if you were found with it, then it is a noticeable mark. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's something that could connect you to this.
Mind holding on to something for me, dear?
What might it be?
And I'm going to open the vessel and pop the crystal in there.
Boom. Gone.
Alright. I will head back to the dorms. My appetite sated.
Okay.
And I will address the amounts on the cards later.
Do you keep the ID card, or are you tossing that somewhere?
I don't need it to access the money, so yeah, I'm gonna toss it.
Okay. You just drop it in the street?
Yeah.
Dropping the wallet as well, or?
Probably. I will.
So you're taking the
sense-
money card and the stick and then leaving everything else, basically?
Yes. Is it a nice wallet?
It is a nice, big, chunky leather wallet, but it's been used quite a lot and worn, so it's kind of a style choice at that point, like whether you like it. It's a bit big for you, I would say, it here.
I'm going to leave it on the street, like on the alleyways, but on like a trash can lid or something, so that somebody who's probably in need or maybe down on their luck has a nice little gift.
Easily done. Leave it there on display for anyone to pick up, free to a new home. And head back to the dorms. You on your way, a small misty sort of apparition produces the twig and then starts going pa-choo, pa-choo, as it shoots a little laser pointer at different things, as this appears to be for presentations given in meetings. It's like a little laser pointer, like, look at now please bring your attention to this type thing.
So we've graduated from Frog to Slippy.
As he's just like playing with the cats on the street as you're walking, just like the little laser pointer like game with the cats.
I absolutely do nothing to stop him.
Adhira's committing theft. Clara helps with books. Dafer is studying. Anything for Uther?
I think I would have spent the morning at the library at the school, but like after lunch, I would go to the other library.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, after lunch would be probably after Clara's done, because I think she went there first thing. So yeah, heading in, you would see the same description as place with the warm sort of firelight light coming through the top. Not super busy despite the size of the place, which makes it feel relatively like empty. But as you walk in, Vera's behind the desk. She looks up at you, smiles, and says, "Oh, I didn't know you were popping by today. Pleasure to see you again."
See you. I'm looking for some stuff. Seeing if there's something here that our library doesn't have.
Well, if you're after gummy worms, you're out of luck. But if you're looking for a book, you might be.
No.
Too sweet, yeah.
No. I almost felt sick after that one, no offense.
Oh, you're telling me I had 12 before I even offered you the bag.
I am concerned for you medically.
I did not sleep. So can I help? Unless, of course, you want to browse at your own speed, but I'd be happy to assist.
rune section.
Oh gosh, where do we start? Is there a material you're working with?
Clay.
Oh, uncommon one.
Are we organized regionally or by material?
Why don't I show you? And she stands up and
Oh,
starts walking up the stairs with you. It's an interesting material to take. Familial? Your parents work with clay, or someone who taught you?
It's... My dad studies runes, so when you study runes, you inevitably get into
Material.
material.
Of course.
And I kind of picked up playing with it a little bit just because it's easy to get and easy to dispose of, if that makes sense.
It makes perfect sense. Here's the main section, but you're probably looking more at the Vangi side of things, I'd imagine.
Exactly.
I've never really had much chance to visit that side of Trismia. I wish I had, although I don't imagine the interactions would have been the pleasant thing, I imagine. Here. Over here. She gestures to a couple of shelves of books.
I will start perusing.
She pulls you out. There's like a little side table thing and a chair that she puts down and says, I'll leave you to it.
I appreciate your help.
But if you need anything, just, well, maybe don't shout. We're too high up.
No, that would be inconsiderate.
And then she heads down the stairs.
Yeah, I'll start flipping through, at least seeing what some of them are covering.
Give me an investigation check at advantage. And you're looking for stuff to do with, like, the terracotta soldier runes and things like that.
Yeah, more. I guess controlling one would be the
Mm-hmm.
what I'm looking for.
So you find a account of someone's conflict with the Vangi. Someone who was stationed on the river border, dealing with an incursion. It's got incredibly detailed artistic renditions of the broken terracotta soldiers, to the point where you can pick out some of the rune work. You can see how thick the material was because they've got comparison illustrations of their hand beside it. Whoever the soldier was had like an
Eye for detail.
Yeah, an eye for detail and like an understanding of I forget the word, but it's like people that are very good at drawing like birds in flight. It's like a natural motion and things like that, where you don't just see what's in front of you, but you sort of get an impression of how it all fits together and how it might move. Yeah, I think it's just called naturalistic drawing, but I might be completely wrong. But yeah, so you get these renditions. You also become aware that they would fall inert when a specific member of the raiding party was killed, and this individual tended to either have like a musical instrument or would sing or had some sort of noise-based cue that all of the soldiers would respond to together. So it would be like they would blow a big like flute thing and all of the soldiers would march in lockstep or, something like that.
Fascinating. Alright.
But that's one that, like, just as you're flicking through it, like, you just read, like, the first few chapters and, like, skimmed some of the excess stuff. Because it's not just about what you're looking for, it's sort of an account of his time there and the experiences.
His experience. So, like, this could be something that one group does.
Yeah,
Not
exactly.
necessarily how they all do.
And as you're reading through other books, you're getting a lot of like first-hand accounts of people encountering their raiding parties. There's very, very little in these books still that are like, and I spent time with the Vangi culture. Like, that's super rare from what you can tell. But there are some really good first-hand accounts of like stuff that they do, things that they use. Some individuals that have gone into detail of like digging up Vangi structures on this side of the Trismere River border, which kind of proves that maybe they used to have settlements that were more peaceful, or otherwise that the Trismerians drove them out of that land, maybe.
More permanent sounding.
Yeah, and less so than their nomadic lifestyle that they're known for. It seems to be deep-rooted foundational structures. And then, you know, there are counter-arguments saying, like, oh, well, I think that in itself says that these were a different people from the Vangi, and maybe the Vangi sort of derived from them, but they're not the same, and you know, topics around that as well.
I mean, that just depends how quick of a cultural shift you want to call it, I guess.
Or what drove them to start walking, as it were, yeah.
I would assume being kicked out of their home.
Which is a completely stated argument in one of the books you're reading. It's just like, well, maybe maybe the Trismerians are the problems, and the only reason we don't question it is because they feed us. Like that's one of the like stated things in here for sure. Definitely not something that would be said out loud in the street, however.
No. From the diagram, what runes can I make out? Or is it just I can tell the runes, but I don't specifically know the runes?
There are some you don't recognize, and there are some that kind of you see familiarities for some of the stuff you use. You definitely recognize like hardening runes, strengthening runes, armor runes, but you also see some runes that seem to denote the idea of like it's kind of like a rune for rhythm, the idea of imparting rhythm to something. If you were to put it on a drum kit and hit the drum once, it would make 3 sounds. But all it would do is divide up the sound that should be there into 3 parts or something like that. It's almost like not multiplication so much as splitting.
Part of the rune set to recognize the sound.
It could be, or it could be something like, if you imagine you swing a sword, it might turn one swing of a sword into 3 swings of a sword, or taking 1 step into 3 steps. Things like that. It's an equal partition of a single thing. That said, each of those things would be 1/3 as strongly done as it would have been beforehand. Yeah, gotcha. But Vera would come back up and just say, found what you're looking for, or need any help?
I have a lot of pieces to a very fun puzzle. It's just...
Oh, sounds like you're on the best side of it. Eventually will come the frustration of things not quite working out, and then the satisfaction of getting it in the end.
Main concern I have, and I tap one of the books, is they apparently use sound for a lot of what they do.
Oh, problem being heard?
Can't carry a tune in a bucket.
Unfortunate. Or maybe something that makes a sound that doesn't need a tune.
I was toying with the idea of something that would play back pre-programmed sounds, but...
Oh, yeah, you could have someone more musically talented record your sounds and then play them back.
Mayhaps.
Must be interesting being an EK in training. I'm sure you end up with all sorts of interesting problems.
I can't say if I can agree with that or not. I'm in the middle of some very interesting things, but I also feel that I am not getting the standard curriculum.
Mm. Well, maybe everyone feels like that. Life is full of
Maybe.
interesting curveballs. It can be easy to feel like you're the only one fielding them, but not to say that yours aren't the most curviest of all, of course.
So, not to sound accusatory, by the way.
Oh, something I've done?
No, nothing I'm going to call bad. I just noticed you really seem to have done your research with our group.
That's obvious, is it? I don't have a I don't have a measure or a history of lying to pull upon. I read about a couple of your classmates in the paper. The more noble aspects, I suppose.
Yeah, they stick out a little bit.
I was hoping that perhaps they might wander this way on their own. Well, obviously you guys are busy. I don't know, it felt awkward just walking up and saying, hey, the library I work at isn't doing too well, and I think your name might help us. In the end, I kind of had to do it, but I'm glad it could be on a more social setting than me. I don't know, knocking on a door or sending a letter.
Fair enough. I think one of them was supposed to come this way anyway at some point for a project.
Oh, probably. Just my impatience getting the better of me, I think. I saw Clara this morning. She, delightful. I'm sure she must be. I'm sure she must be a pleasure to work with and study with.
Don't make her mad and you're golden.
I suppose that's true for most people, isn't it?
Yeah, probably. But glad she's not mad at me.
Well, yes. Do you want to take that book with you?
We could, yeah. How long is the checkout time?
Well, technically, we like a week, but I could always get the date a little wrong. I know you're going away.
I mean, worst case scenario, I just ask someone to bring it back.
No.
Do you have another guest?
It's fine. Not many people check out the books from this section. I'll bend the rule a little.
Alright then, I appreciate it. I will try to make sure it gets back in one piece.
Oh, I'm sure it will. I'm sure Clara would beat you over the head with a stick if you didn't anyway.
Please don't. I bruise easy.
She just smiles. Well, now you've told me. I'm not going to forget.
Hey, at least the gummy worms weren't poison.
Dayfra, the Witch's Nook is like the exact opposite side, so it's right next to East Academy, basically, so it's as far as you walk, which is like 30-40 minutes away, basically. I mean, technically that's not huge, but... yeah, go right, Uther.
30-40 minute walk in a city, though,
isn't that bad. Yeah, I know. I realize what I said. I'm such a town kid that, like, I'm like, oh, that's the opposite side of the whole settlement. It's like, no, not really, but yeah.
It's realistic for a day trip, not a, hey, let's just quickly pop by.
Yeah, it's not a
any
pop
time
over.
commitment.
Especially if you think that, like, if they get there at 9 and their parents, like, pick them up at, like, 4, it's an hour either way, so you start squishing things with lunch as well, but yeah.
Yeah, particularly given that kids and slow insomnia.
Yeah.
A window up here, Andrew.
What was that, sorry, Uther?
What would there have been a window up here?
Yeah, there are windows kind of dotted around. Yes, yeah, there would be.
Does one face the, embassy building?
Yes.
Can I get a better idea of some of the layout from there?
Yeah, give me a perception check.
I can multitask.
11. In some sense, there are two things at play here. So one of them is out there on the ground, you can see cast copper, almost like plaques, like little spheres on the ground, flat circles. And there are etchings in it that you immediately recognize aren't runes. But having recently read a manual that involves a spirit in a train, you recognize a spirit contract when you see it. There are guardian spirits bound to certain sections of the embassy grounds that probably have some sort of contract to patrol or otherwise protect it. But there might be on those discs some sort of, you can't, like, because obviously people are walking on the grounds without disturbing them. There must be some way of the spirits recognizing the individuals as not being part of their contract. So if you can get...
I would have to figure it's got something to do with people's IDs or a badge they keep on them if they're staff.
That's the obvious thing I think would stand out to you, yeah, Uther. It's like it's either like they're given names or identities or a specific object or something. Yeah, that's your first instinct. Caliban, do you have anything that you want to do before you go visit your dad with most of your class?
We're at the library, correct?
You can go to the Witch's Nook as well today if you want. Yeah, she said it would be nice if you would go before you were away.
I intend to fulfill that at the very least.
Yeah.
I would like to. I did promise I would see if I can get books for like the whole Emberic shard stuff, or what's her name? I can't, for the life of me, I can't remember off the top of my
The
head.
sheep lady.
Yeah, for some reason, Mistle. I went to say Mistle, and my brain immediately went to ram or sheep, and I was like, I can't get this out of my head now. But yeah, Mistle Dragon.
Mistle Dragon.
But yeah, so you head into the Witch's Nook. As you head in, Vera kind of hurries over to you to basically say, thank you. It's been so busy today. You're the third of your class that's come in. I didn't realize I made such an impression last night.
Well, I figured I would fulfill such obligations. Besides, I am also here on some assignments of my own. Thank you.
You watch her turn around and she mouths something to one of the other librarians, who then hurries off towards like the kitchen area. And she turns back around and says, what were you looking for?
I would say anything on the subject of Emberic, I believe it was called Emberic shards.
Yes, they're newer. I don't think we've got too many books on it, but I'll do my best to assist.
And just a little bit more of a more private, it's a bit more private thing that I would like to ask. Let me just DM real quick.
Oh. I assume, are you whispering something in her ear with this DM, or is this more of a taking her into a private space to talk to her? I'll let you finish typing.
The heck was that?
Okay. She says, interesting. That's the second request of that I've gotten today, I think. Well, I suppose it's some sort of school thing. Very well. She shows you to a couple of different sections to look for different books on the topics you're interested in. while you're looking for them and while she's assisting them, she says, so what was it like growing up, a Von Helig?
He thinks about it for a second. Surprisingly smart.
As in, you didn't have much in your room, or do you mean...
It was, I had more accompanying illnesses throughout my life than the rest of my family.
Oh,
There had to be, more accommodations for me.
you seem to be doing well now, though.
Yes, I am. And because of my treatments, I would say that it has benefited me in the long run.
Your treatments? You make it... Go on.
I'm afraid that any further elaboration is what's the name of the company working with
Azalea
the
Foundation.
The Azalea Foundation would be a breach in the Azalea Foundation's trust, I would say.
I see. I had read that your family had a close relationship with the Foundation.
Yes.
I suppose that would make sense if they saved their son's life.
Mm-hmm. Though, hopefully, the great strides that have been taken for my benefit will be extended towards those of a similar note.
She chuckles to herself at the way you phrase it and just says, you sound like one of those new job individuals, those PR people. No one talks like that. Surely you don't talk like that.
Caught red-handed.
It's like you're reading from a script.
Honestly, what's been done for me, I hope helps others. Though, we'll keep my more altruistic goals to ourselves. Wouldn't want anybody to consider that I'm of the more charitable sort.
What? Why would that? Why would that be so horrible?
I have my own reasons.
He has a conscience. We'll ruin him.
I'm happy to keep your secret, but I'm sorry to tell you I'm a terrible liar. If someone asks me straight to my face, I'm gonna break.
I really want to say it and nobody would believe you.
You can say
Mhm.
it. But I'll just nod and say very well.
You're a very accepting of the situation person. At least from what I've understood so far. You took the suite without real question. You agreed to help without really considering it too much. You accept the fact that I might just spill your secret. Is that the sickness talking? Is that the...
I think that's just I think that's just me. It's simply who I am.
Well, it's nice to meet you, who you are. This looks good. She hands you a book on the topic you DM'd me about.
Yes.
Do you want to sign that one out? Or would you rather read it here?
I think... Is there an extra copy of these for sale?
Oh gosh. Probably of the book I just handed you. I doubt it on the Ambaric front, I'm afraid.
Not on the Ambaric front. He pats the other book. This one.
Yeah, there should be a second copy.
I would... personally, I would like to purchase it.
I would tell you it's rather expensive, but I guess that's not a problem.
Of course not.
Very well. She takes you to a desk to pay for it. It's 250 gold pieces for the book.
Let me just deduct that from my from what I have so far.
He's paying for the secret book that we don't know about.
Correct.
Not any
Yep.
other books, right? Okay.
Yeah, that is. Yep.
And for the Ambaric purposes, I only have the official release of notes that was given this year. A lot of it is...
This will just be checked out. I'm not gonna hold on to it permanently.
No, I understand. I just wanted to let you know that these are just the information that we've been able to get since it's been released. A lot of it is still held in secret by the city and by Dulukop, so sadly it's not too available, but this is as much as I can give you.
Of course. Much appreciated.
And you're away on a mission soon, yes?
Yes.
Then I'll fudge the date a little, give you a little bit longer with the book.
Alright. Thank you.
You're welcome. Is that everything?
Yes, that will be all.
Come back again sometime soon. It was nice talking to you, the person who accepts things.
Of course.
And thus I know you won't say no, so... Almost feels like I'm cheating a little. Perhaps you could pretend to say no at some point. Try it on.
Sam?
Mhm.
Could you repeat to me what the thing was she couldn't give him because of the council's regulations, etc.?
Ambaric shard information,
Oh, I thought she
basically.
didn't have
More
that.
advanced data
Okay,
on
no,
it.
no.
Yeah. She's only got certain things, yeah.
Okay, so she does, strictly speaking, she does have a Baric Shard books, but they are not in the library. They're wherever the council has put them because that's restricted information.
No, she has some books, but it's only books that have been officially allowed to be released by the governments of Dulukop and Empress City. The other books that exist would be within somewhere secure held by those two entities, basically, and will be slowly filtered out to the public once they're sure it's safe information to distribute. It's basically the best way of putting it.
Okay, so essentially this library has been cleaned of, let's say, dangerous information first before it was able to open as a library.
And they may not have even had that information.
Yeah,
it's just not released yet.
It never would have been allowed to them in the first
It's a new
place.
tech.
Yeah, exactly so. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, no, I thought maybe they had like ancient books of secret rites or whatever on the Baric Shards, and they were hidden away, whisked away.
I can't believe I'm going to say this. I want to get to and do the meeting with Caliban's dad, but we've been going for about 4 hours at this point. I don't know if people want to keep going or whether you want to stop here. It's up to you guys whether this is where we close off or not, or we do one more scene, which is Caliban's dad and the rest of the gang.
I'm fine to keep going. I just want to know if you're good.
Obviously, no
And
pressure on...
everybody else.
Yeah, I can say no pressure on anyone. If it's one person that says no, that's fine as well.
My concern is y'all Europeans.
Yeah, it is getting a little late.
Yeah.
We're getting close to 10.
So we could totally just do that first thing next time.
Yeah, Clara?
Yeah, sounds good.
First thing next time or keep going?
I'm okay with either. I have a slight preference for first thing next time, but it's not
No,
that.
I think
don't mind.
that's fair. We've been going for 4 hours, like I said. So we'll pick up with Caliban meeting his dad next time. Yeah, all right.
Okay.
Welcome
How much
back,
do you want to
everyone.
bet? How much do you want to bet that his dad is the guy that I robbed?
Oh,
that would be
no.
hilarious.
Now
that
that
would-
would be funny.
That would be funny.
Oh god.
Well, I'll write that down. Thanks.
I was about to
No.
say,